What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the finale of Season 3 of the Offshore Gamescast, also known as Episode 76. But
That's why it's special.
It's very special. One after 75. What we are here to say is today's the 6th. Season 3's over. It's done. It's break time. It's time to go on our break. We
hibernate.
will be gone for 2 weeks. We go into a little shack in Alaska.
Together. It's just the two of us.
Just the two of us. We have our one wolf to pull our little shed, and we have a little ice fishing hole in the bottom, and we really try to make a survival game out of it. But after that's done, on December 20th, we will be coming back for the start of Season 4 and to talk about everything that happened at the Game Awards, which is going to be very possibly exciting.
Hopefully it's better than last year's. It was kind of disappointing last year, honestly.
This year might be shorter, so they say.
Good. That would be a welcome change to that.
Getting rid of a lot of that hoo-ha.
There's a lot of hoo-ha. All right.
Especially last year.
Speaking of hoo-ha, Dave, do you know what Dubby is?
I think I do know what Dubby is, but please refresh me because I have short-term memory.
Dubby. It's a drink. It's one of those. It's powder that you mix it with water and it gives you caffeine and stuff.
What a selling ad. It's a drink.
It's a drink. Hey, we were not given a script. We can do it however we want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those powder drinks full of vitamins and caffeine. 150 milligrams caffeine per serving. Go to w.gg. Use code offshore for 10% off your order. I tried it for the first time this week. I have the cherry limeade type deal, and it's yummy. It tastes like bubblegum, cherry bubblegum.
Ooh.
And it smells like cherry bubblegum. And I know you asked me there. It's not powdery.
Good.
There's none
it's
of
good
those.
That it's not chalky.
No one likes that.
No one likes that. You don't really get that in whiskey, though.
Is that the next ad read? Go to whiskey.com and use code offshore for whiskey.
Yep, 10% off whiskey. one free DUI.
Ooh. Don't pass up on that offer.
Don't pass up now.
Also, go to offshoregamescast.com starting today. Click on Game of the Year 2022 in the corner in the menu tab, or just go to offshoregamescast.com/GOTY 2022. We have a lot of guest posts this year, way more than last year. Probably going to have at least 20 posts for the start, and then throughout December and even January, going to update with some more. So very exciting stuff. We've been making friends, meeting some cool new people. So go check out their top games. You might discover some new ones.
The Offshore Gamescast Game of the Year holiday posts are back, and they're better than ever.
I will say I think it is a noticeable upgrade from last year.
Absolutely, and thank you to every single person who has volunteered to hop on the little offshore train.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone, all the guests, all the listeners, you. But it's too early for this. We're not saying bye yet.
Well, I'm just saying we got our show appreciation where appreciation is due to be appreciated.
Yes, but we're about to fight, and we might not appreciate each other by the end of this.
We will be breaking out the sumo mat.
I kind of hope that you have some sort of sumo mat type deal that you're gonna actually physically bust out at some point.
Not unless it's a real adult diaper. I don't.
Oh, but you have those.
Oh, always. You never know. You never know.
Are you wearing one right now to prepare for the long episode?
You never know.
All right. That answers that.
All right.
We added a couple categories this year, but Dave, which one are we starting with?
We are starting with the most surprising game of 2022 for us. And we should just jump right into it.
Yeah, because surprising could mean a lot of things. It either surprises how good it was, it surprises that it even existed. It's kind of open for interpretation.
Absolutely, and we are interpreting it as we go on.
Yeah, so I did say this to you before we were recording. I kind of did it a little differently this year. I don't know who I want to win any category other than Game of the Year. I just
Yes.
threw games in the dock, and we're gonna debate, figure it out, and that's it. So let's start
Hopefully we'll
with
kiss and make up by the end.
I don't. It really depends.
It really does.
How personal are we gonna get here? Am I gonna like be attacking your character by the end of this?
I hope so. I hope we have to talk to HR or something afterwards.
I am HR.
Yeah, I might have to send you an email.
All right. Let's start with Harvestella. This game surprised me. I'm not exactly there's a little bit of a trend here with a couple of games, but I'm not exactly a farming sim type person. But you take Harvestella, you mix a farming sim with a JRPG, and it works surprisingly well. And I think the thing that surprised me the most is how much, and we'll get to this in a later category, how smartly designed everything is with the in-game time system, which normally I'm like, don't limit me. I don't want to be, I don't have to stop what I'm doing to go home, go to bed, and have to just stop in the middle of doing things. Normally that really annoys me, and I love it in this game.
That's good.
So I was surprised by that.
Okay. I didn't play it. I know you've been all deep into it, but
Yes.
I couldn't give a shit.
Okay. Look, you know what?
This is these are far opposites for us on this. So
yeah. I'm okay with cutting this from most surprising because I think other games surprised me more.
Okay. Then it can fuck off.
Harvestella, sorry. I enjoy you, but you didn't surprise me enough.
We got Disney Dreamlight Valley up next. I have not played any of this myself, but I have watched a good few hours of Emily play, and I'm a little surprised with how much of it grabbed my attention.
You know what the most surprising thing is? They just took Animal Crossing with Disney characters and made it better.
Yes, they did.
That is surprising to me. If you told me that, like, yeah, we're just gonna throw Mickey Mouse, Goofy, the Frozen characters, and Toy Story that's coming out soon. It might be out already, but coming out soon. And just be a better Animal Crossing. That's a surprising statement to me without knowing about Dreamlight Valley.
I was never big into Animal Crossing or really cared too much for them. Maybe save for the most recent one. I was like, okay, maybe, but this one I could really see myself putting some actual time into if I were to really go into it.
All right, we're keeping this then because I don't want to cut this one.
Sounds good.
Next, Rollerdrome. I put this one on here because it was, well, first off, after Roll 7 came out with Ollie Ollie World this year, it was surprising to see them come out with another game. And then
I bet, yeah.
It's surprising that we got a Tony Hawk rollerblading game. And then it's surprising that it's all about murdering people while you're doing it.
Yes, this is all very unexpected. And it's still a game that I do want to play myself.
I don't want to say it's surprisingly good because the Ollie Ollie games, while there's a learning curve there, they do control well. And it is kind of like that with Rollerdrome, although having Tony Hawk experience and the controls being very similar makes it an easier ramp on. But
yeah,
just the very idea of this game and it happening is surprising to me.
I can see that. It combined a lot of different elements from certain games, much more recent and whatnot, but it combined a lot of aspects that you wouldn't expect to see together. And as one of those that I still I'm looking to play it. I wouldn't cut it yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's my top choice, but let's keep that in the discussion.
This next one, though, we are not cutting, and that is Escape Academy, because that has got to be one of my top favorite indies of this year.
Yeah, that game rules.
It's
Like,
really good. And I'm still so upset that we did not get a review code for it, because I would have absolutely loved to go all over this game and put something out. And
yeah.
even just playing it afterwards, it's just so good.
Yeah, and I think the most surprising thing is how there's a lot of those generic escape the room games. A lot of it
Mhm.
is on mobile or Steam, but they're just kind of boring and bland, and this leans more into like what you actually experience in a real life escape room.
Mhm.
And co-op is awesome in this game. I Let's keep it.
Obviously.
Let's keep it.
Good.
Next, Chinatown Detective Agency. And I think that I don't know if this is going to hang, but I think the surprising thing is the unique idea and execution of basically having Google be the game
Mhm.
while going through like a grand government conspiracy, but having that button where it's like, oh, you need to figure this out using this information based on pictures they're giving you. You click on the web browser button, it opens up Google Chrome. At least on PC, I'm still completely unsure how this works on console.
Mhm.
Um, but it pulls up Google Chrome, and you're just left to like, all right, use hints from the picture I saw to look stuff up based on actual fact and try and figure out the answer to like this riddle or trying to guess someone's password on their computer. That
Mhm.
when Chinatown Detective Agency was first shown, I was like, oh yeah, that's like a cool art style puzzle type game. I'm in for that. I was not expecting that whole thing, and it's
Yeah.
really cool. Um, but I know you didn't play it, but I think we should cut it.
It sounds like a cool mechanic and a part of the game, but does not stand up for me.
Sorry, Chinatown.
Bye-bye. Immortality. I
I'm
already know
not
that we're not
accepting
cutting
a
this
cut.
one.
I am not accepting
I
a
already
cut
know
on
that we're
this.
not. I know. Should we might as well move on,
Yeah,
because
let's.
I know.
We're not even gonna go into it. We're just it's staying.
Yep.
All right, Card Shark. Another one I put on. I guess really the only surprise here is how well the motion control worked and how much I liked it.
Cut it.
Okay, cut.
Uh all right, Nintendo Switch Sports. I don't see what's so surprising about it besides it being still
Um.
good and more sports.
Okay, so the game itself is not. The game being fun is not surprising. The existence of the game was surprising. This was one of those
Okay.
announcements that happened and completely caught me off guard and got me immediately excited. So this is kind of like messing with the word surprising and kind of
Okay.
opening that door of just like its existence is surprising because I don't think anyone was
Mhm.
expecting a Wii Sports follow up on the Switch.
No, but I feel like if you were to just wait, it seems like almost one of the inevitable options that end up getting made.
You're
But it did. I do understand that it kind of came out of nowhere, and also the fact that something like this did not release with the Switch itself, making it another one of those forced best game evers. But it
oh, they had like
down,
yeah, best selling.
yeah, down the roadmap, it feels like just one of those inevitable ones, especially using the Joy Cons separately as motion and whatnot.
That's all right. All right, that's a fair argument. I can
Hmm.
cut that. I accept that.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
After that is Chorus, and I don't really have much of an argument for for keeping this one. I don't know if it was just surprising, like how well it controlled and how easily it. We both talked about it when we played it, like how easily you could start role playing being in space like that.
Yeah.
But
It's hard because it's one of those ones where it came out for like $40.
mhm.
People weren't expecting it to be good. It ended up being like almost this 20 some odd hour journey that you like put time into with this relationship between you and the ship AI itself. And once you got past that little skill level, that curve, and you got to doing some moves, almost that combo like feeling, it just feels so smooth and fluid as you're just zipping around, just doing your spins, shooting over, like using gravity to spin around and then just shoot somebody else. It has such a satisfying gameplay loop.
That, I think you did a great job talking about that there, because that, I think that is what was surprising about it, was
Yeah.
like how good it felt. Like, take this team that made Chorus and give them the
Hmm.
Star Fox IP and let them make just like open 3D space Star Fox. That would be
Yeah.
incredible.
This game looked like it was planning, like being built up to go straight under the radar. And I
Yeah.
remember seeing a good amount of like advertisements, like picture ads all over, but not enough push to really have people play the game besides like a few ads or like a commercial or something. But it is really one of those like little gems.
I think it's on Game Pass now, which hopefully that means more people will give it a look.
I hope so, because I would definitely play another one in that series just to feel that flying again.
I do think, though, looking at the other games, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm totally fine with cutting it, at least in most
I
surprising.
I think I'm okay with cutting it here.
All
Next up, we have Elden Ring.
right.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I think that's Elden Ring is in a lot of categories this year. It turns out.
It is much more than we initially anticipated at the beginning of the year, and I feel like that's surprising.
I think that's really the surprise with Elden Ring, is that it's not that I was expecting to dislike this game, because I'm in on them ever since Bloodborne. Like, that's
Yeah.
it. I'm in. I think what surprised me is how actually good it is. Like, being one
Uh,
of the best games I've ever played.
Absolutely. It is, for someone like me to abstain from these games religiously just for my inept ability at them, and finally just having it click and just flowing into that river is just, it's just so nice. And Elden Ring is just so well done, and
Can
it's
I
fun.
can I throw out the argument, just for keeping it for now as we go through the list, of the fact that I'm surprised you like the game so much? Can
That
we?
I can accept that, because it is a shock. I mean, I'm farther than you right now.
I
I'm a
know, which
higher
is
level. I
crazy.
put more time into it. I that is my biggest shock right there, is that
Yeah.
I passed you in a Souls game.
Yes. And so let's keep that.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's talk about Steel Rising.
I put this one on there
You
because
did.
it is what got me into it. This is what
Yeah.
was the click, what got me feeling good about it. My reasoning behind possibly letting it go is because its comparison to something like Elden Ring, it is a much more feasible experience, something that's a lot more forgiving, and even the combat is just a repetitive dance, because the amount of moves that the enemies have is very easy to understand and choreograph, to either move away, come close, you do your attacks and whatnot. But I still appreciate it for what it is done for me.
Yeah, I guess the surprising aspect is that of all games, Steel Rising is the one that got you in on the Souls-like genre.
The closest one that ever has was Dark Souls 2.
That is also surprising out of all of them, that's the one, but that didn't come out
Yep.
this year.
No, but I think I'm okay with cutting Steel Rising.
Yeah, let's cut it.
I threw this one on last minute because I don't know why I wasn't thinking of it before. Most surprising, Marvel Snap. Obviously, I have very struggled. I've been bestruggled.
You've been bestruggled. Yep, you've been bestruggled.
It's
surprise.
I can't. I feel like it's so rare to go a day without playing. just one day.
I don't think I need to be sold on keeping this, because if you go back and listen to like our first year of doing the podcast, how much
Mm.
I was always the one to be like, no, come on, there's some good mobile games, like they're fun, and you're like, fuck mobile games, they all suck. And now like,
Nothing has come out that has just really worked or been good enough, or just like has that loop and it's just addicting and it's just fast, it's fun, feels good. It's just it's good. We found the best mobile game.
wait, yeah, I think the fact that I don't know what your top 10 is, I would guess this is in there. The fact that a mobile game made your top 10 is surprising enough for me to keep that. But now we have the problem of having 6 games with only 3 spots.
Kick Rollerdrome. Get out.
That okay, I'm fine. I'm fine with kicking Rollerdrome.
I would also get rid of Disney.
Before we discuss Disney,
Hmm.
can we talk about Elden Ring? Because my
Yes, because
argument
I was afraid that one was going to be one to go, but I feel like it should stay.
my argument against Elden Ring is that,
Is you don't want it to overwhelm the show.
so I'm totally fine with giving Elden Ring everything. That's not true. I'm gonna fight against Elden Ring in some categories, but
Yes.
I I don't think it's necessarily surprising that it's a good game in general.
Yeah.
But I guess this, we also have to, or at least I have to
This is the
recognize that
most
this
this is
is,
the most convoluted category.
yes, and this is also our personal, like our offshore's most surprising.
Yeah.
And I guess between us, it is surprising that you enjoy it so much.
I mean, I went back when I first started after I beat Steel Rising to play Elden Ring again, and my first playthrough was an hour and 5 minutes long.
The first time you went through Elden Ring?
The first time I ever played, my first character was an hour and 5 minutes, and on my current character, I gotta be somewhere around 60.
All right, let's talk about Disney. Let's not cut Elden Ring just yet. Let's talk about Disney.
All right.
I think I'm okay with cutting it from most surprising, just because the only argument is that it's surprising they made a better Animal Crossing, but
Yeah.
I could see the argument against it. I know I'm kind of arguing against one of my games here, but I guess the argument against is that it's no surprise that Animal Crossing sucks in many ways. And I love Animal Crossing, but Animal Crossing fights you on many fronts. So is it surprising that
Mhm.
someone saw that opportunity and was like, "Hey, we can just make that better"? Maybe
I
it's
mean,
not.
a lot of what we have here, especially in most surprising, are things that have been done before, but these are almost just a better version of it. And I feel like the surprising aspect comes from, oh, I didn't know, I wasn't expecting this to come out now, and just leveling that between the other, oh, I didn't realize this was coming out now, and excitement level or shock level.
I'm
So if that's the case, for me, that would be Disney.
I'm fine. I'm fine with cutting Disney. We can cut that,
Okay.
which gives us 4 games. And looking at these and the way that they surprised us, I kind of think the one that has to go is Escape Academy.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, debating between Escape Academy and Elden Ring, for the
Those
fact of
those would
like
be the two I think also.
that's yeah, but it's going, yes it is our, and it's like our thing, but it makes it hard because it's like, yeah, the Elden Ring, that's part of our journey. Like that's part of this year, this season. We've been going through it, and like it's been lore, we've been talking, it's been fun, but Escape Academy, which we did know partially about, has come out, and it is just like it was first up. Well, did you finish it?
No.
Shit. All right.
But I
It,
guess this is the moment to talk about.
yeah, we should have. We always forget.
We do. But we haven't said anything in spoiler territory yet. We when the time is right or we feel is necessary to make an argument for these games, we are going to talk spoilers for the story. We will give a warning. We'll let you know if we're about
Yeah.
to go in spoiler territory. So I I also know that last year, I don't remember the specific games. I know I spoiled you on things. So
Um. Um.
was it Inscription? Okay.
That was it.
So if you think that something in Escape Academy, if there's a spoiler that you think keeps it in most surprising, I say go for it.
Uh. Uh. It honestly, because that narrative starts off so like fun and happy, and by the end of it, it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Okay. So is it just surprising like how good the narrative gets?
The narrative has a twist that you really don't see coming.
Okay. Well, maybe all right, all right. I guess just answer this, so maybe spoiler warning.
Yeah,
Is the twist that the dude, what's his name? Eye patch guy.
the guy that you save or
Yeah.
whatever.
He looks like CM Punk. We did notice that. Uh
Okay.
is the twist that he's a bad guy and like
No.
okay, cuz
It's
that was
it's
our theory.
do you want me to just go into it? You want me to tell you cuz it's
If you think it keeps it in most surprising, then go into it. If you think it's not
okay.
enough, then
Okay. All right, I will go into spoiler territory then.
okay.
So, spoilers for Escape Academy for the ending of the game. Do you remember the or did you get up to the computer screen teacher?
Yes.
Okay. So you go, you do your thing. You're doing your little Psychonauts thing. You got all your teachers and whatnot. You go and you save this guy, the dude with the eye patch, and you're going through the game, and you come across this one special room, and you go inside, and you find him sitting in a chair, charging.
The dude that you saved? Eye patch man? CM Punk?
He's a robot.
Okay, that I think that qualifies for surprising. I would
He's
not
a
have seen that coming.
he's a robot, and you have like a Gladys Portal style like puzzle battle against him as like the main boss, the computer guy. So you're running around doing things, and you're like messing up with like one cylinder of his stuff. You're shutting down another thing. You're solving puzzles to do that. But as soon as it got to the point where I'm seeing him and he's charging, and he's a robot, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I thought I was just a kid solving puzzles over here. Like everything seemed fine, and I'm like, all right, it's weird that they're kind of making him the headmaster. I'm like, I don't. Yeah, he seems kind of evil. Nope, he's just a robot.
Okay, I think that weird story twist that is definitely. I am totally fine keeping Escape Academy and cutting Elden Ring.
I think that would be. I think I'm okay with that. I think that's good.
Okay, so we have our top three. It is Escape Academy, Immortality, and Marvel Snap. And
I think I'm safe to say that Escape Academy can be the third pick.
that is verbatim what I was about to say. I think the
Good,
fact that
good,
we
good, good,
were
good.
about to cut it, let's move that down to number three. Even though we don't really number 2 and 3, it's still this is between
Yeah.
Immortality and Marvel Snap. Now,
Now,
I,
if there ever was a sumo mat moment, this feels like it.
man, first category for like for one of the most like lighthearted ones. We're already gonna get into this. Okay,
Yeah.
I am prepared to go into spoiler tour. I'm Immortality is gonna get spoiled.
Spoilatory.
Spoilatory. Immortality is gonna get
Look,
spoiled at some point in this episode.
if I have to spoil Marvel Snap for you, then by God, I
Go
will.
ahead. Give me the biggest spoiler from Marvel Snap.
The new season's coming out.
All right, Marvel Snap wins. There's a new season.
I knew it.
I can't
The
believe it.
content never stops.
All right. Okay. I'm not gonna quite go into spoiler territory yet with Immortality. I will if I have to. But this game, the feeling it gave me, I am talking like jaw dropped, body covered in goosebumps, that feeling in your stomach, like a dread almost of like, what the fuck is happening?
Mm,
That moment is something that not just video games, but TV shows, movies, any sort of entertainment medium almost never give me.
mm-hmm.
That is
Hmm.
and again, I'm not going into, I don't even know if the spoiler would sell you more on it necessarily. I think it would be surprising because I don't think I told you off camera like what the deal with Immortality is, right?
I don't think fully because I still either planned on playing it or whatever. But
Okay. So if if I don't need to go into the spoiler to get this category, then I won't yet cuz I guess I am kind of gamifying a little bit here, but I do want to save that. That's a lizard.
yeah, this is Goose. This is the crested gecko.
That Goose wins most surprising.
Goose is the most surprising thing that has happened all episode.
I,
I will
I
I
I
will
think I would agree
confidently
with
say
that.
that.
I, all right, so Goose is most surprising, and then we have three
All
runners
right.
up.
Sounds perfectly good to me. He's just a chill little dude.
This, I guess we should have announced also at the beginning of this episode for audio listeners. We're on video.
Yeah, we have a little video now, so you could be seeing Goose if you went to our YouTube or our website.
Yes, go to both preferably. Hey, Goose.
He's trying to reach out.
Yeah. Bye, Goose.
Thank you, Goose. You've been a wonderful, wonderful guest.
Okay, so immortality wins, right? That's it.
Mm. Now, when you were speaking about it, I was definitely having certain thoughts that would guide my decision closer with yours, but we do need to talk about Marvel Snap first.
Let's talk about it.
Now, when all right, Rhett and Link.
Yeah, as soon as I said that, I was like, yeah, that's pure Good Mythical Morning what I just did.
Yep. I cannot remember the last time a mobile game or something as like generically microtransaction blah 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 type of game, which this isn't necessarily. I mean, you could make that argument about certain cards, but a lot of it at the end of the day is mainly cosmetic. But something that has absolutely just consumed me, like I'm talking I don't know, 60 70 hours of a mobile game, a card mobile game, more than I put in Slay the Spire. But these games go by so fast, 3 minutes and you're done, and then either you can keep the winning going or hop back in for a comeback. And so much different ways to play with all the different locations, all the different cards, the different decks that you can make. There's so much variance, and it just feels so good. I haven't come across like a single problem
They
that I can think of.
I do think it's very smart that they essentially took the idea of TikTok of just like one more video. They're short, one more thing, and applied it to a card game with Marvel attached to it.
Yeah,
Like I
because
think
people love
that's smart.
Hearthstone and stuff like that, but they are hard into Hearthstone. So some of the people
Yeah.
who aren't never nearly like as heavy card based would want something very quick and fast and like something very snappy that you can just kind of pick up. And the UI is very like adamant about that. And even with every patch, they keep changing stuff to the point where I'm a little mad at, because my thumb is so used to hovering over the screen where it's supposed to click, and now I got to go to the other side of the middle of the screen and click, blah blah, whatever. But that's my only complaint with Marvel Snap. The buttons keep goddamn moving.
I don't think I don't think that affects the surprising aspect, because really the surprising aspect is
Yeah.
how much you are in love with a mobile game, like you said, that is not it's also not just, oh, hey, it's one of those story games that works on mobile, because Immortality is also on
Yeah.
mobile. Like that, it's not
Mhm.
like that. It is a mobile ass mobile game, like you said, of
Yeah.
microtransactions, all that fun stuff. And I think it stays in most surprising, obviously, like that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but
Yeah.
is that a bigger surprise than Immortality?
I That's where it becomes tough and subjective because here's the argument that popped in my head when you were speaking about it. When I think back to Mr. Robot and just the moments that that show would give me, and I feel like it's much more easily relatable due to the fact that Immortality is an FMV game.
Yeah,
When those twists and things happened, those have stuck with me. And because of that, like, Mr. Robot is my number one favorite show, and it has some of the best moments that I have seen in a story or in TV or in a movie, etc. And that is something that I will always stick with. And just those, especially jaw dropping moments. There's some, like, in certain movies that I can think of too. But I feel like you're not getting that, like, that one moment is just kind of stuck with you and that's it. You can think back to it, but it never essentially evolves or you get more of it. And is that
no.
impact strong enough?
So it is more than just that one moment. That was just like the big shock of when the way I described it in the review. I just, because it was a spoiler free review, was the thing, when the thing first
Still though,
happened.
this
That
is
was a
this is a
shock, but
story game. This is a story game that ends. It's over.
it does. Yes, the game
Marvel
does
Snap
end.
keeps coming out with stuff.
But is
And
that
it will
surprising?
well, because of the fact that it has so much to offer is half the reason why I've put, I don't know, 7 times the amount of time into it than you have with Immortality.
All right, let me add this to the argument. Immortality is an FMV game that is that has one of the best moments and craziest stories in a video game I've ever touched. That's surprising. FMV games are usually pretty bad.
Usually, I mean, look at The Quiet Man.
The Quiet Man is pretty damn good. All right. You know, okay. Okay. I
I
want
need I
to
need some more whiskey.
I wa- I am I'm willing to give you Marvel Snap on this because I want to save the Immortality spoiler for a bigger category than most surprising.
You don't have to say the spoiler. It doesn't necessarily have to, but at the same
No,
time, I can
but
understand. It's
I want to save that for a category. Most surprising is kind of a fun thing to just kick things off on. I would rather, personally, I am gamifying our game of the
mhm.
year a little bit here, but
Yeah.
I think I would rather save the big Immortality push for a category that's not most surprising.
hmm
And I will agree. It is surprising how much you love Marvel Snap.
Because especially for something that I've put so much time into, and that is because of how replayable it is just so consistently, like, I'm so consistently yearning to go back and play some more. Regardless of if I have sound on and I hear, oh, snap.
that All right, if you're playing it without hearing the oh snap, I like I said, I am willing to concede the most surprising category because I think Immortality has maybe better footing in other categories.
If that's what you believe, then I am perfectly fine with letting my game win.
Oh, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, I can concede most surprising. I'll play nice here to kick things off. So that
All
gives
right.
us the winner of the most surprising category of 2022 is Marvel Snap, followed by the runners up of Immortality and Escape Academy.
hmm Our first
Congratulations,
real
Dave.
argument. First real argument.
That Hey, we kept it civil.
too civil.
Okay, so you want to. I don't think this next category is the one to really break out the
No.
sumo mat, but we're talking about most disappointing. We're talking about a negative category.
Well, let's start off at the top of the bottom, and that is Horizon Forbidden West, which is one of those that I'm already ready to leave up there compared to some of the
Yes,
other ones.
I think that I so I have seen quite a few guest posts come in, and I have seen Horizon Forbidden West win Game of the Year. I have seen it in multiple top tens. I think that the way we feel about this is going to be a bit controversial, but
Hmm.
we totally agree. Horizon is staying for us in our most disappointing.
Yeah.
How about Trek to Yomi?
I think it's disappointing, but definitely not the most disappointing.
I would
I'm
agree.
thinking
I
cut
think
it.
it it didn't hit the way I wanted it to, and I think what pushes me personally over the edge with it is that my game broke at like towards the very end to
Hmm.
where no matter how many times I restarted it, restarted my PC, like did what I could on my end to get the save points to activate again, I couldn't activate new save points. I basically had to go from my where I was through the whole end of the game without ever dying or needing to heal through the save points. Which,
Good luck.
yeah, that's so obviously I never finished it, and I would almost guarantee that's been patched since then. Um,
Probably. I mean, to be honest, I was thinking about hopping into it just the other day.
all right. I mean, I'm totally fine with cutting it just because it wasn't like so bad to. It wasn't a bad game. I wasn't that disappointed by it.
Hmm.
So,
I do have a
congrats, Trek to
question
Yomi.
because
Yes,
I cannot remember. Did the Anacrusis really come out this year? Was it January?
yes,
Did it really
yes.
happened this year?
That happened this year. I can
Oof.
let's look up the Anacrusis.
Was it January 13th?
January 13th was the initial release date of the Anacrusis. That is,
Ah, I love
you're
how
really
good
good
I
with
am with
game
some release
dates.
dates.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with
Ah,
you and release dates.
I don't know, man, but it just I
Of all
love it.
things, the Anacrusis, that's the one you remember?
Probably because of how disappointing it was.
uh, I think the argument against keeping the Anacrusis is the fact that we were not necessarily hyped for the game to begin with.
No, but on like a standard
It's
level of like what a game should be, it's not this.
yeah, it's bad. And there were very
Yeah.
few games that most games I can come away from be like, it was all right. This game was just bad.
No, this is one that we had other people go play just to let them
Yeah.
experience, just so they could suffer with us.
Yeah,
So
Philip
we
and
weren't
Nave with the
suffering in
Gaming Together
silence.
podcast. Check out us on their show when we did a whole thing on the Anacrusis. That was a fun episode because it's just they were
That
both
was a
like,
lot of
"What the
fun.
fuck did you make us play?"
Like, all right, well, it's like, what do we? When that idea came up, I was like, do we want to torture them? I was like, let's send them a bad game. Let's make them play something bad.
Yeah, it was that was fun, but
Yeah,
all right, let's keep it for now. I don't know if this is gonna hang at the end of the day, but we can keep it for
we
now.
don't know. Yeah,
The Quarry. Now,
this is one that I only because I haven't played it and I assume that it has gotten patches and other stuff. I I feel like I would cut it. I also do not think that it could be the worst of these games that have been released.
so this is more of a personal thing with me, which is the fact that, and again, I don't even know if this was a game issue or a PlayStation issue, but
Hmm.
it just would not load my save. We could not continue playing this game. And we
Which is a
were
problem with the
like a
game.
few hours in, and we just had to start from almost the very beginning.
That is rough. We don't like
That
that.
is where my disappointment comes in. But
Hmm.
I would agree that that's a shitty technical problem that does disappoint me, but that in and of itself is not enough.
No. Cut
So
it.
the Quarry, this is the category you want to be cut from.
Literally, yeah. To which I think Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins should be cut.
Yeah, I
I
would agree
I
with that.
I
Yeah.
actually threw this on my Christmas list.
Oh, really?
I
It
want to experience chaos in
I
all of its Fred Durst and I
yeah.
want all of it.
I think that the disappointing part is that there was too much gameplay to get to all that stuff. Because that's really what I wanted.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll cut that.
Yeah.
Mario Strikers Battle League. I put this on here because the $60 price tag for wanting to play this single player is a joke.
Yeah.
It is a
But
few
it's also
tournaments and that's it.
Nintendo. No matter what, it's gonna be $60.
Yeah, I know, but
At least in the future, maybe we can look at Nintendo for only being $60.
yeah, that's true. That's suddenly going to shift of, well, it's only 60.
I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, games are going on sale, but I mean, it's still cheaper to get a Switch game.
So, I will say though, I had a lot of fun playing this multiplayer. So,
Hmm.
it doesn't hang here. But that the
I yeah, I think you're good to cut it.
yeah.
WWE 2K22, another wrestling game that I feel like they still can't get right. I don't
No,
know what the fucking problem is.
this game started out for me as I I don't know, I'm sure you remember when I first talked about this game on the podcast, I was like, this is fun. It's good. And then
Hmm.
it just got extremely repetitive. All of the twists and the turns in the story were insanely predictable in the sense of, okay, anyone that you ever team with ever is going to hit you with a chair at some point and then you fight them. That there
Well,
was
didn't you
nothing
have
interesting.
you had one clip though that was just didn't you hit a dude with something like
Yeah.
15 times in
It
a
it
row?
was with a hockey stick. I just kept hitting
Yeah,
him in the head
yeah.
with it and the announcers just kept being like, "Oh my god. Oh."
Somebody stop him!
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know why anyone hasn't stopped this. We literally need first responders.
yeah. So, it gets also as a wrestling fan, the fact that there is like almost no promos happening in the ring, it is just all on Twitter or their version of Twitter. I don't remember if it's like officially Twitter, but everything
Mhm.
happens on social media in this game to advance stories.
Tressler.
Sure, Tressler. And it it sucks. But disappointing. I guess I will say, also kind of playing on the word and the meaning of disappointing. I don't know if I was necessarily hyped for a WWE 2K game in general because in recent years they have really not been good.
Hmm.
So fuck it, cut it.
It's cut.
Dave, talk to me about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, a Borderlands
It
game under most disappointing.
it is something that I really wanted to be better. I think that I feel like every time they come out with a Borderlands game, one aspect is always better and one aspect is usually worse. When it comes to Borderlands 3, I feel like most of the gameplay, everything with that was better. Story was worse. In this one around, I didn't care too much for the story, but it just felt like the gameplay and the arenas that they had were much more of a slog than something that ended up being entertaining after a few hours. Alongside that was more of the Borderlands 1 esque looting and gameplay feel. A lot of it felt slower, like to level up and to just get certain weapons. I think it had some really cool aspects of the overworld, getting to explore new things and like some puzzles that way. But as just like an overall Borderlands experience, it is one of the most disappointing that I have come across this year.
I am totally fine with keeping this because the fact that you put a Borderlands game under a most disappointing category is enough for me.
I actually traded it in recently.
That's, adding fuel to the fire with that one.
I know. I have the season pass and I'll get it again when it's like $5 for the collection, but as of right now it is just I look at it and I don't know how else to say it. I look at it and I'm disappointed. I'm just I'm disappointed.
Your next one too is also
A lot of the first games that released this year really had a lot of hype behind them and just did not stick the landing. And one of those would be Dying Light 2. I I had so much hope coming up for this, especially I mean, as of right now, we finally have a Dead Island 2 release date with their 16th developer. But as the big sequel for that took 7, 8 years to come out from the a success that was Dying Light 1 that I loved and put over 100 hours in, this felt like such a change and like moving on with the trend of let's make a big open world, let's level gate and that sort of stuff. It didn't flow as well, I felt, because in the first Dying Light, you could really go anywhere. You could just do what you wanted and explore. Granted, there were some harder enemies, but it wasn't like a you should be level 3 to be even in here. And it felt like while it was cool that the city was much more dense, I feel the restrictions put on stamina and climbing, which could only let you go so far, almost making it Metroidvania like, isn't what I wanted. A lot of the changes to make this more of an RPG in its full sense is less of what I wanted from it. I was more so expecting just a better version of the first one, and we sort of got like the Fallout Dead Vegas.
all right. Hear me out on this one.
Mm.
We both feel pretty strongly about Horizon Forbidden West. And then I'm looking at Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and Dying Light 2. With Borderlands being one of your favorite game franchises of all time, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Dying Light, the first one, is one of your favorite games of all time.
I see that's what makes it difficult is because between Horizon and Dying Light 2, I definitely had much more of an affinity towards the Dying Light series compared to Horizon, which I did enjoy the first one. It did a lot more of the side stuff than I expected to, but as something that ended up being more of a disappointment personally, it would be Dying Light 2 compared to Horizon.
Well, I was really making the pitch to cut the Anacrusis out of this category, and then we have our three.
I feel like the Anacrusis is so funny though. Like it's such a bad game.
I mean, if,
It does,
if
but like, does that turn it around because of how much fun we had of how bad it
I,
was? Like,
I
is
think
that the reason?
that's part of it because when we played that night, it was we
It
all
turned more
enjoyed
fun.
we all enjoyed how bad it was at some point, right? Like it was fun how
Yeah,
bad the game was. But listen, I am really the only thing I feel passionately about here is Horizon. If you felt that the Anacrusis was more disappointing to you than either Tiny Tina's Wonderlands or Dying Light 2, I'm fine with losing one of those.
I can agree with you on that on the aspect of the Anacrusis. I feel like because it was more of just like a fun romp that ended with like a what the fuck did we just play than something that was actually like overall like a disappointment. Because in a way it was, but not on the same level. We can cut it.
All right.
And if I had to make an arrangement, personally, Tiny Tina's Dying Light 2 Horizon.
Tiny Tina's winning most disappointing.
Yes.
Now that surprises me because I thought the way you were going with this was that you were going to be fighting for Dying Light 2 and I'd be fighting for Horizon.
No, Tiny Tina's is the most disappointing.
I
Because for something that's from my favorite series. Okay, so favorite I've always said this, my favorite series has always been BioShock as a series. My favorite game is Borderlands 2. But from the amount of time I've put over 1,300 hours into the Borderlands franchise, 1,400 hours. This is one I would more likely put time into the I will in time put more into the pre-sequel than I will with this one.
I am fine with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands winning, and I think that's because of how much Borderlands means to you,
Yeah.
and the fact that like coming out of Horizon Zero Dawn, which we both really enjoyed, we also did not come out of Horizon Zero Dawn being like, "This is one of our favorite games ever." Like, I can't wait to get
No.
my hands on more of this. It was good. We both like that game, and we're both
Even the
disappointed by
DLC I
Horizon.
couldn't get into.
I enjoyed the Zero Dawn DLC, but it it's really hard.
Hmm.
for like no good reason. I'm I'm totally fine with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands winning this category, and our runners up being Horizon and Dying Light 2.
But in what order?
Are we actually ordering it this year? Are we doing like a 1, 2, 3?
That's what I mean. We did that with most disappointing. I mean, most surprising.
I mean, listen, if it were up to me, I would put Horizon at number 2. And I think my argument for that is the fact that both of us were collectively disappointed with Horizon Forbidden West.
That would be my one reasoning to keep it in the middle because it was something between the two of us.
So are we calling it there?
I think we'll call it there.
Okay. So our number 1 most disappointing is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, with number 2 being Horizon Forbidden West, and number 3 Dying Light 2.
I've been kind of curious what your girlfriend's would think about my most disappointing opinion.
I did tell her before we were recording, and I was looking at the doc. I was like, "Ooh, Dave put Tiny Tina's Wonderlands under most disappointing," and she actually made the point that the game broke for her, and she could not
Ooh,
finish. Like, she could not kill the bosses. Like, it would not. She couldn't get to the next area. So she
and
completely was agreeing with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands being there.
especially for this being her first main release of the series and getting hyped up with
Right.
the collector's edition and stuff. It's unfortunate.
Her words were that the best part of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was the map and like the box that came with the collector's edition, nothing to do with the game itself.
The best part was the box.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that also
yeah.
just adds to Tiny Tina's Wonderlands being the most disappointing game of 2022.
There it goes.
Go back to a year ago. I think that's some of the most fun to come from this. If you told me a year ago that between the two of us, our most disappointing games would be Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, Horizon Forbidden West, and Dying Light 2, I would call you crazy.
I'd be like, "Are you serious?" Like,
Yeah.
I'd be so let down right at the beginning of the year. Just like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, definitely more so you than
What?
me. You would be so sad.
And especially personally, the 3 games that I probably ended up spending the most money on getting the collector's
Oh,
edition for
yeah.
both Horizon, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and the deluxe edition with the DLC of Dying Light 2.
I guess also just to add to her, even though we kind of have this done, I have your collector's edition for Horizon here in my house, and you are in no rush to get that. You're just like,
We talked about it last time
yeah.
I saw you, and I was just like, yeah, I don't really have anywhere to put it. It's probably better off in your basement.
Yeah, so I think that also goes to show, like, but not
Yeah.
exactly passionate about that game.
Put out an unboxing of it, put out other stuff on it, and just
That unboxing was also disappointing because of all the tech problems. So, just throw that in there.
It was a lot. It was a lot going on, but we are ready to move on to best narrative. The first best.
Yeah, this is where we're entering the best realm. Also, throw this into the most surprising category. Not a lot of really great narratives from this year.
I even the ones that I'm looking at here make it hard to warrant their necessity.
So, I'm just gonna start with Immortality. That's the first game here. That's not getting cut from this category. I don't accept that.
I get it. I know.
Yeah.
Next is Endling Extinction is Forever. I feel like for both of us, we do have a reason to keep it for now. It also is more important because of getting that was our first real big review that I feel like we were able to put out, and it's got like a little place for us.
That also is the only game from this year to bring me to tears. And while I was not bawling, it was not just like, sometimes a game will make you yeah, bawling. Sometimes a game will make you shed that like one single tear. I definitely, both eyes, tear streaming down.
Mm-hmm.
So they did something right there.
It was a good game overall, with not needing a lot to like tell you to really get its narrative across, which is nice.
I threw a Plague Tale Requiem on this list just as like a throwing games out there type deal. I'm totally fine with cutting that because narrative wise, it kind of just felt like more of the same.
Both this and one of our other ones, honestly, the rest of them I have not finished.
I also, yes, I think that that is part of this, is that maybe towards the end of A Plague Tale Requiem, which we both didn't finish, I don't know, maybe the little brother dies and it's very sad and it's like a whole, maybe that would make it more impactful for us. But
Yeah.
as of where we both got to in that game, I am
I
totally
honestly was
fine.
more confused.
I Yeah, I I never really
I
got
thought the
confused.
mom was dead
Okay, yeah,
this
I guess
whole time.
we both also thought the mom died, but maybe we just have terrible memories.
But January 13th is when the Anacrucis is released.
You just have a very selective memory.
Apparently, very random shit. So I think we're good to cut Plague's Tale. Ghostwire Tokyo, another one I haven't finished, and I feel like one that's more of like a funny buddy cop comedy than
Yeah,
something with a real strong narrative.
I am definitely intrigued by like the mystery of it and where it's going, but I would agree with, in terms of best narrative, it does it doesn't need to be here. At least from where we
Mm,
what we played up to.
yeah, I think I'm good without it.
Elden Ring. Now,
This
I
is this is a semi-complicated one because it does the traditional Dark Souls narrative through the items, but also presenting a more upfront plot to you.
right, and I think that the thing with narrative is that it's not just straight up the main story. It is like the world and how everything is presented to you. And
Hmm.
I think with Elden Ring, my biggest argument for the narrative would be everything at the round table hold and how that is kind of your hub area. But sometimes you go back there and things are not going too hot or people are dying there. And I think the way
There's some random ass shit that happens
I think
sometimes.
the way the story is not even necessarily the main story, because I know people that get very deep into the Souls lore and the games would probably not like me saying this, but I think the main narrative of Elden Ring is whatever. It's happening.
It, does it feel like that kind of Skyrim thing where it's like you're not here for that. You're here for
Yes.
everything else.
Yes, totally. But I think that the way all the other characters you meet and the world building happens in Elden Ring is enough to keep it in the best narrative category. If this was best main story, I would say get rid of that. But best narrative overall, I think it deserves a spot here.
Okay. I can understand for now.
You got to talk about this last one though.
I know. Finishing off, we have God of War Ragnarok, and I don't want to get rid of it.
I
I'm
have not
I've
played God
still
of War Ragnarok at all, so this is all you. But based on my experience with the first God of War, I would understand why the sequel would end up in this category.
I still have only put about 6 hours into it and not necessarily had the chance to pick it back up since. But in the story moments that have happened so far, specifically the first time you see Odin pop in, he is so frail and thin and old and just like he's a little hunched over, but he demonstrates just so much power in that scene when you first see him that really establishes him as like a more than just like a big dumb threat, and that's exciting because he has a bunch of big dumb threats underneath him, one of those being Thor, which is where that scene leads into. But a lot of those moments I feel like have to do with the acting based on the mocap, which adds to making said narrative much more immersive, enjoyable, just flow better.
Yeah, I think that definitely, plays a part in the narrative discussion. I Okay. Well, let me ask you
There was
this.
also more than one part that I played through where as I'm playing it, I'm doing a thing, and then once it's over, I'm like, oh, wow. Like it would do some little changes and like stuff that I wouldn't see coming. I'm like, oh shit, like now what are we gonna do?
So I don't. I guess don't go into detail if you don't feel you have to, but I have also heard from a few people that something happens like honestly pretty early on in God of War Ragnarok that was getting people kind of emotional.
In the first 15 minutes, yes.
Okay, and that
And
also hit for
we
you.
not as strongly, but they do a good job with the fact that they're not just throwing the scene away. They're giving it the they're doing the God of War thing like they did in 2018 where they're giving it enough context to make it mean something, but they're not telling you the whole story until later.
How do you
So like kind of
feel?
how the beginning with Baldur was, but if you knew the right context, it would mean so much more. So
Yeah.
like something happens during that emotional scene and it gets brought up by Kratos to Atreus later and Atreus has like no memory of it and is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And obviously they're leading for that to mean something later in the game from what happened at that moment.
So you're definitely on board with keeping God of War Ragnarok. So what if we cut Elden Ring?
I'm thinking we cut Elden Ring.
I'm totally fine because honestly, like as cool as that stuff is, I'm not going to Elden Ring for the story or really the narrative. I'm going to it for playing the actual game. And I guess discover, oh, hello there. There's
This is
there's an
Finny.
that's the best
There's a lot.
narrative.
There's a lot. Oh, Finny got a lot to say. I'll tell you what.
All right, Finney, should
Oh,
we cut Elden Ring?
Finny, should we cut Elden Ring or God of War?
Oh, that sounded like
Yeah,
Elden Ring to me.
cut Elden Ring. Yeah, okay, we'll cut Elden
So
Ring.
yeah,
Finny
I mean,
says so.
my argument against Elden Ring would be I go there for the gameplay, and I will say exploring the world plays a huge part in it, which is,
Hmm.
I guess, part of the narrative.
Yeah,
But out of all of these, I'm fine with cutting Elden Ring from the narrative category.
it's hard to fight God of War's one-shot cinematography as well because it is just so fucking smooth.
Okay, so we have our three. I have a very clear winner for this category.
I obviously it's going to be Immortality. I'm not even going to fight because
Awesome. Totally
what's
fine with
the
that.
point? What's the point? Endling was fun, and God of War I haven't finished, so I don't have enough to. And I don't know if God of War would do necessarily anything too mega shocking. I've seen enough people call it a safe sequel. Now, if something like Last of Us 2 was this year, that would be much more of
Yeah.
a reason to argue for it. But um because I haven't finished God of War, it's hard to say whether I would put that above Endling for its purpose.
I mean, I am again. I have not played God of War Ragnarok, and I am very excited to play it. And I have high hopes
Mhm.
for the narrative from God of War Ragnarok. But
I wish I brought my
Endling brought me to
chapstick.
tears, just full on tears. I am. If this is our order right here that we have in the doc, I am very satisfied with that.
That is what I'm thinking too. I think I'm good with this.
Okay, that gives us the winner, best narrative, Immortality, followed by Endling, Extinction is Forever, and third place, God of War Ragnarok.
All
It's
right.
it is very interesting that our three most disappointing games were like pretty big AAA games, and indie kind of ruled narrative. Just
Indie's been having some
interesting.
good hits past 2 years.
This brings us this brings us to the next category of best visuals, which is a little bit different than our best art style category of last year because I think we did I don't remember what we picked for last year, but best art style kind of limited us to specifically talking about art style. I think visuals really just
When I was
broadens it to everything.
when I was listening back, it was definitely arguments over Eastward,
With Sable,
Ratchet and
right?
Clank getting cut. Say it was Eastward, Sable, and Echo Generation.
Okay. So visuals, this encompasses the art style, the animation, the this will include if something looks real, you know.
Hmm.
Starting with Ghostwire Tokyo. I don't want to cut this because I really like the whole finger spell thing that you're doing, then like
It
computer
is
glitchiness.
it is a lot of fun. I feel like I got more bored of it after a while than I thought I would.
Now, are you talking about of the game or the visual specifically?
Like the visuals, like it's still cool, but it's like, all right, I'm still doing the kind of the same old moves over and over and over again. Like they're starting to get a little stale.
I guess something against it is also that the enemies. I wish there were more types of them. Instead, it was just variations
Yeah.
of Slender Man and Headless Schoolgirl.
This person gets hit best with water. This person doesn't.
I really like the way this game looks though with that style. I'm not ready to cut it yet. I don't.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it has a bright future in this category, but I don't want to. I don't want that to be the first one we cut.
Hmm. Next is Endling. Extinction is Forever. I think this game is very minimalist when it comes to this sort of category, and I think it looks fine. I think it does its job, but I think it's more so basic.
I'm fine with getting rid of Endling for best visuals. I do think it is nice and pleasant to look at, and I think that minimalist style works in its favor more than anything. But
Hmm.
looking at like really the rest of this category, let's get rid of it.
Hmm.
Stray.
Keep it.
I'm I'm also with keeping Stray.
Good game. Mario Strikers Battle League. It just feels like a cut it.
Yeah, the only thing I think the thought I had when I put this down was they do that really cool action anime looking thing when you're doing the super shot, and that looks really fucking cool. I don't think that specific thing is enough to carry it in this category
If
though, because
if
otherwise,
that's all you got for it,
yeah, it doesn't look bad by any means, but it looks like just like every other Mario sports game, Mario Party game. Like it looks the same.
okay, all right.
Neon White. Um, I think graphically, gameplay wise, like sure, the graphics themselves are nothing to talk about. I think the
Hmm.
style of everyone wearing like the cool demon masks and their whole
Hmm.
like attire lining up with your main character, you're white, you're neon white. So everything is white. Then there's neon red, which is, red mask, everything all red for her. It I think that's a very cool I think it's a very cool style.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it should be cut yet.
Cool.
Sifu. I don't have too strong opinions on this one unless any of the fighting looks really really cool.
So there are some really cool set pieces in Sifu to where the world I don't know what the in-game explanation is for this, but I don't know if you're getting drugged or some shit, but things get weird in terms of the set pieces.
Hmm.
It happens maybe once per level. Is that enough to really to carry it in the best visuals category? I'm fine with getting rid of it.
Yeah, I think it's safe to go.
Chorus, I think, is a very nice game to look at, and when you're in space, it does a really good job of not only showing how big and vast it is, but also with the technology you have and moving very quickly. When you're moving quick, it feels like you're moving quick. When you're moving slow, it feels like you're moving slow, and a
Yeah,
lot of that is visual.
it when the skill clicks, you can make some real pretty ass maneuvers.
I am totally. I don't. I think this is also. I'm saying this a lot. I don't know if that it will have enough to carry it to the end of this category. I'm fine with keeping
Yeah,
it for now.
sure.
That just
Uh,
that sounds like it's just gonna get cut right away as we do our next run through. But yeah,
it will.
yeah.
Solar Ash. I had interest in this one, but I didn't play it. I feel like besides the sliding, I think that's the best thing it's got for it.
Yes, and I do think the art style itself is very cool, but I wish they
Mhm.
did more with it. I think at some point it's kind of boring and safe within that art style.
Mhm.
I'm the one who played it, and I'm all for cutting
All right, let's cut it.
it. A Plague Tale Requiem. I
I
think
feel like I'm fine to cut this one, and mainly because there's a decent amount. The game has some pretty looking moments, but there's a decent amount of times where the facial animations and a lot of stuff doesn't line up, and it's just it's. I'll be a little nitpicky and go for the uh clipping with all the rats on each other.
sure, sure. I think A Plague Tale Innocence would have worked better in a category like this, and I think that also comes with the surprise of like this wasn't made by AAA studio when it looks this good. But
Yeah.
I think for the sequel, just kind of continuing that, and it is less impressive on that front, so I'm fine with getting rid of it.
Okay. Roller Drome.
I want to keep this, and I'll tell you
I
why I
can.
want to keep this. It's because it reminds
Yeah.
me of Sable.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
Yeah,
why it is not
all it
as
has
pretty
going for
Sable,
it.
but I want to keep it just because of that.
Fine.
Trek to Yomi. I think that this is really the only category this stands a chance.
I would agree because it does have a cool style and setting to it that really plays into the story. I think it's fine to sit for now.
Yeah.
Horizon Forbidden West. Now there was a lot of talk about being able to see Aloy's little peach fuzz. Does its level of realism and stuff like that, like, are we able to push aside our personal feelings about the game?
So I mean, I am, because visually, I think that is the best thing this game has got going for it. And I don't know what your experience was like, but personally, with Zero Dawn, I had a lot of audio and visual, like lip sync stuff, not matching. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that it clearly is a struggle to get that just right, because a lot of games do struggle with it. But when it's
Mm-hmm.
bad enough, and especially in a game that is like as real looking as Horizon, it can be kind of jarring. I found at the very
Yeah.
least in the discussion parts, uh, like when you're having a conversation with an NPC in Horizon, in Forbidden West, they really improved that. I saw a noticeable improvement there. It was not standing
Mm-hmm.
out to me. And other than that, the world is more of that, which is very good.
Yeah. I don't know if I would throw it up. It's hard to take away personal bias.
Don't puke.
But
Okay, well, the issues with Horizon Forbidden West, though, it's not with the visuals.
I don't know. Do the visuals count with her being such a dick?
No, that would fit under narrative.
Because she's such a dick.
She is, but
Ugh.
that fits under narrative.
We don't have to cut it, but I don't want to hear.
Okay.
But then that moves on to the last one. Because it's like God of War Ragnarok. It's fucking pretty. I would take that over Horizon any day.
I mean, if it's between those two, like if we're gonna talk about those two in terms of the realism, like which of the realistic looking games are we gonna keep here? I'm all for Ragnarok over Horizon, but it's
All right,
not
so let's
really
get rid of
like a.
Horizon.
All right,
Get it
all
out.
right, all right. we'll get rid of Horizon.
Not here to say that God of War is gonna stay, but it's not Horizon's not gonna stay.
Well, we have 7 games now, and just based on the initial run through, we'll just get rid of Chorus.
I was looking at that one first. Let's get rid of course. I'm fine to get rid of Ghostwire Tokyo,
I like the visuals of Ghostwire Tokyo.
but just that one hand movement and just that over and over. Is that all it has to really stick above the
All right.
rest?
How about before we go there, I'm fine with getting rid of Roller Drone, because the best thing the visuals got going for it is the fact that it reminds me of another pretty game.
that I'm fine with getting rid of. Then if it's just like a memory connection style,
That's it is like I love the art style of Sable, and I know we talked last year with this category, like the day
yeah,
night issue, but this
How-
is like it is a not as fascinating to look at Sable.
yeah.
It's in that style, but not as good. So let's Roller Drome, that's gone.
Hmm.
I definitely don't want to get rid of Stray. I think that belongs here.
I would say Trek to Yomi belongs more than Ghostwire does, though. Half that game is visuals.
I I I don't like the direction this is going because I know what your next step would be. So I'm gonna go and say, yeah, let's get rid of Ghostwire. I don't want to get rid of Neon White.
I know. I mean, if we're talking solely non-bias, then I I would let go of Neon White. Cause yeah, it's got a cool style. It's a little punky,
Yeah,
but
that's why I like it.
besides that, it's not. It's just not for me. It's a no for me, dog. Stray, we know we're keeping. Trek to Yomi, half of its whole purpose is to be visual, down to the camera shifts of the where you're looking. And visuals God of War Ragnarok is the one shot cinematic style, and you're playing it through that way, combat and narrative and all.
I I agree with everything you're saying. I just really like Neon White. I,
I
but
understand.
I can't deny the things you're saying. You're not wrong.
I do appreciate this.
But yeah, okay, we'll get rid of Neon White, even though I'm gonna cry about it later tonight.
Now, for what's left, I would put Trek to Yomi at the bottom and then keep it the way that it is.
I'm fine with that because I think that what kind of pushed me over the edge with this in general was when we were voting on the Game Awards.
Yeah.
And if we're taking animation into account, Stray completely nails top to bottom. Like
What it's like
cats.
being a cat.
Yes.
And
Like
it works even into gameplay and in narrative. It's just good. It is good.
I completely agree. There are so many moments in that game where something will happen and I'll be like, that reminds me of one of the things that one of my cats does.
Yeah.
All right.
We have next up best console
Well,
exclusive.
hold. I do want to just real
Ugh.
quick read off that the winner was Stray, followed by God of War Ragnarok and Trek
Yes.
to Yomi.
Yes.
That
Yes, it
is
was.
congratulations, Stray, on best visuals.
Good job, Stray. Afterwards, we have best console exclusive, and I feel like if anyone, this is the category to read all the way through and then just quickly get rid of a bunch.
Yeah,
Because
so
there's a lot here.
when I did this category, I literally just took anything that was a console exclusive and put it on this list. And we clarified this last year. These games, a lot of them are also on PC. This is strictly console exclusive. So a lot of them are on PC and one console.
Yes. Now, how do you feel about doing that? Reading through them and then just knocking them off?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot here that we're just destroying right off the bat. So,
all right. Let's start off and go back to back. We got Horizon Forbidden West for PlayStation.
Get rid of it.
All right.
Pokemon Scarlet Violet, I assume with you that is staying.
Staying.
Okay.
God of War Ragnarok for PlayStation. I feel like that's worth staying.
How do you feel about as as ducks fall?
That's terrifying.
How do you feel about As Dusk Falls for Xbox? Because you played that and I have not.
Cut it. Next up, we got Harvestella for the Switch. I'm assuming it's staying.
It is staying. I guess part of the thing here is when I think console exclusive, Harvestella is not exactly the type of thing that stands out as like, oh yeah,
right.
that Switch thing. But I want to keep that for now.
Okie doke.
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, I'm fine with getting rid of.
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I guess I should clarify Nintendo Switch. Yeah. Goodbye, Rabbids.
Roller Drone for PlayStation.
I like it. It's not a good enough
Yeah,
console exclusive to hang here.
no.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
It's a big one, but I don't think it's gonna stay.
Yeah. I like that game just fine, but yeah, let's get rid of it.
Ghostwire Tokyo for PlayStation. I don't think it's gonna stay, but I'm not necessarily ready to get rid of it yet.
I'm fine with keeping it, and honestly, the next one, Immortality on Xbox, because that was PC and Xbox. I love that game, but it also doesn't scream like, yes, it was only on Xbox and in consoles, but I don't look at that and think of it as a console exclusive.
Well, remember we talked about this last year. It doesn't matter if the game released on PC. If it was mainly only on the console itself, that's what matters. So, like, if it wasn't on Nintendo Switch, if it wasn't on PlayStation, that's what matters.
Okay, well then we'll keep Immortality then.
All right. Next is Stray, PlayStation, which we're keeping.
Yes. Neon White for the Switch. Yeah, we'll get rid of it. Although I think in our next category, we'll be fighting a little harder for it there.
Mario Strikers Battle League, Nintendo Switch, cut it.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Card Shark for Nintendo Switch. I quite enjoy. Cut it.
Nintendo Switch Sports.
Not cutting that. Nope. That is staying for now. Nope. That is staying for now. And Kirby and the Forgotten Land for Nintendo Switch is also staying for now.
Jesus Christ. Pokemon Legends Arceus is also staying for now then.
I agree with that. The Gunk for Xbox, though, I think we can cut that.
The Gunk was like 4 years ago, man.
That was December of last year. It counts. We both had COVID when that game.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Good times.
Yeah. Oh boy, that leaves us with quite a list here.
Get rid of Harvestella and Switch Sports.
I say get rid of Harvestella and Ghostwire Tokyo.
I'm also fine with that. Now get rid of Switch Sports and Kirby.
Oh, well, hey, whoa. Let's roll it back here. You know, looking at these games, let's get rid of Switch Sports and Kirby.
I know.
Because this leaves us with 5 strong games.
Now, the struggle for me, and the reason that I'm going to get rid of Legends Arceus, is because I do think overall Scarlet and Violet are a better game.
This is opening a conversation that is definitely going to come up later.
Yes, it is.
Because I don't want to cut Legends Arceus from this category.
Yes.
How would you feel about both Pokemon games making it?
I wouldn't be opposed.
Because again, I know Immortality is a console exclusive, but I don't look at Immortality and say, yeah, the Xbox game.
That's a you thing right there, man. That's all you.
I'm hinged up on the console exclusive part because I am gonna fight for that game really hard and really the rest of this episode, the rest of the game of the year. I'm fine with getting rid of it in console exclusive.
I feel like I would much quicker get rid of Wagnawak than Stray.
I mean, I didn't play Ragnarok, and I quite enjoy Stray. I'm fine with that.
I think Ragnarok, like I said before, is more of the same, but that's not a bad thing. But Stray really just kind of came out and was just like, damn.
Is this boiling to? Is the argument happening now? Is this where it's going to happen?
I think it should be Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then Stray.
You see, we're so close here because I think it should be Pokemon Legends Arceus, then I'm fine with Pokemon Scarlet Violet going next, and then Stray.
So
It's happening. This is it.
I have put basically the same amount of time that I put into Arceus into Scarlet and Violet in about a week and a half span. I put the same amount of time into Arceus from release up until the release of Scarlet and Violet. I think it had some very good mechanics that really had itself stand out. But compared to Scarlet and Violet, which are full release mainline games of the generations, having an open world and 3 separate main storylines to follow, being the Team Star bases, the Titans, and the gym leaders, along with the Elite Four, as well as just being open and catching Pokemon in a much faster turn-based way than traditional games, not as fast as just being able to toss a ball and catch them, overall creates a much better Pokemon adventure and journey than Legends Arceus does, in my opinion.
Now, this is where I think getting rid of the stealth part of Arceus and being able to very quickly catch a Pokemon, move on, catch a Pokemon, move on, is a big mistake. That is something that I want in all Pokemon games moving forward, and I am we we could go back. I know that this is obviously pre-release, and pre-release compared to when a game comes out is very different. But we were both
Yes,
pretty upset about losing that and going back to turn-based.
we were, but when I finally ended up playing Violet and realizing not only how fast the battles were and how just seamless I was brought back into the world, just bringing it back out and just walking up to the next one of every single Pokemon just being out and about in a full open world, not like a 4 to 5 section map that you can go across, is a much better jump and one that I'm far happier with than necessarily having that catching mechanic Mac. But mainly because it doesn't fit as well with what you're doing. In Arceus, you're meant to be a researcher and a collector and to learn more about them, and this is your straight up Pokemon journey of like a traditional true experience inside this massive broadened open world with all these quality of life enhancements.
Let's talk about the technical problems.
The technical problems are present, are bad, and did not once hinder my enjoyment or persistence to keep playing. Once. When this game released, I did not touch a single other game. It was 4 to 5 to 6 days straight of just all day. The first 2 days I had off, I was just playing straight and I couldn't stop. And even after everything else, I couldn't stop. And co-op, playing this game fully co-op with someone, is an experience that I will never forget. That is a core gaming memory for me.
I think especially the co-op part is a strong argument for having Scarlet and Violet over Arceus. And you do have the advantage of having played both of these games. And it's not like
Fully.
they're drastically different because they are both Pokemon games, kind of teetering along that same line of changes that were made.
Arceus has an incredible new mechanic that works for Legends games here forth, but Scarlet and Violet master what a traditional Pokemon game up to this point should be. Granted, probably could be there like a little further by now, but to the advancements that we have gotten in the series, this is the biggest one for a mainline game that really works well together. All the 3 storylines, having the Pokemon out and about, just doing your traditional thing. Even the beginning, that first moment when you come across, like, you know, in every game you come across the professor and he's like showing like there's some shenanigans that's happening that you got to pick your starter. In the beginning of this game, all 3 of them just walk beside you and do crazy wacky shit as you're walking to like the director's house, and like Fuecoco's setting shit on fire. Everyone's going and sniffing things. Like, you're just kind of walking together, and it's just this fun little experience. And it's just so nice compared to just which one do you want, which ends up happening, but you get more of that world building with you as you're going through it with them. And I feel like it's overall, it really, it better immerses you in the game.
I knew the Pokemon argument between these two games was going to happen at some point, and it's not going as I hoped because you make good
Yeah,
points. I I did not consider the co-op aspect, which I think is a big plus to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
and this is up to 4-player total.
Yes, and I that is a big plus to it. I did not play Scarlet and Violet, so it's hard for me to really fight against it because it's not like I played it and did not like it.
Hmm.
I
I mean, I'm perfectly fine with leaving Legends in the middle because that is something we did both play. But for something that I thought was going to be my number one game of the year, and it not being that, that is where I stand with Scarlet and Violet.
I I am a little sad to see this order because I know that when we have our top 10 argument, that whatever Pokemon game wins here is going to be the Pokemon game that is on top in the top 10, just logically. But you do make you make strong points.
There are a lot
Uh,
of arguments as to it's difficult because of how different the overall core point of the game is. While this one is this traditional Pokemon adventure, you are solely just creating the first Pokedex, which is cool. This is our first more open, like massive wild areas, but not a massive open world. It's our first time experiencing that, but Scarlet and Violet really, really harnesses it together for what this Pokemon adventure should be. And only again, like with Arceus, sets it up for what the future should enhance on.
I think the thing that also is making me a little hesitant is the fact that personally, if you give me more of an action type game over a turn-based game, I am going to lean towards the action game almost every single time.
I will say the only thing that you're doing action really wise in Scarlet is taking on those alphas and the Titans. Other than
But
that, you're still running up, and I don't think you would call action just throwing a Pokeball at the back of some fucker's head because you're still going into a battle and doing turn-based stuff.
yeah, all right. I do feel pretty strongly about having Arceus above Stray though.
I I can agree with that because that is something we both played in that sort of respect and how much of an upgrade it was. Because either way, both these Pokemon games are massive upgrades for the series and something that we do need to focus on moving forward. But comparatively, I am surprised that it is just a better game than Arceus, regardless of technical issues, in my opinion.
I'm not happy about it, but I accept it.
I come with way too many points.
I can't
It's also so fresh on the brain.
there I mean recency bias does play a part, but I do think the things that like the 4-player co-op, the whole mini activity of the classroom school thing, I love that shit, and it's
There is the classrooms and taking classes and filling out midterms, finals, and sometimes even getting a Pokemon as a reward,
it
incentives
is
to do so.
I also have a tough time going against Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as a game I did not play because it's not like I'm looking at Scarlet and Violet and like, that game's just not for me. I want to play that game.
It is fantastic.
I am
Probably my second favorite overall gen, if not like game in general.
I am I'm fine with calling it. The winner for best console exclusive is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the Switch, followed by Pokemon Legends Arceus for the Switch, and Stray coming in at a number 3 on PlayStation.
And I am fine with that.
I accept it.
I've
I'm a little upset.
once you finally get down and you are in a mindset of really experiencing this new Pokemon generation and not something that's just like, all right, I have time to play it, you will see just how bad you want another one.
I
Like
am
when the DLC comes out, I am gonna be hyped as fucking shit.
I think I think I'm a little more upset about the fact that this is also going to be the order of the Pokemon games in our top 10 than I am about the console. That's really where I'm getting upset.
I understand because I really imagined Arceus being at the top, and that was until these came out. And again, for something where I'm able to look past the technical issues at such a point, because this thing, like I said in our episode, it runs like dog shit that was eaten by a pig and then shit out. It runs so poorly. But at the same time, is not something that was enough to even get me to stop for a minute. Like, I could not stop. And I still wish there was more content for me to play because I've done everything. I haven't done all the schooling, but that's not the same. It's not the same as running around catching. I already did that.
All right. It Yeah, it happened.
And
That's
now it's time for our last two big categories before the big one.
best indie.
Mm-hmm.
So this I just also I did the same thing where pretty much any indie game I played and enjoyed this year I put on here. Starting with Chorus, I don't see that hanging around here.
I can see it going.
Let's get
We
rid
can
of it.
cut it. Neon White.
Is
You
staying.
don't want it. Yeah, I didn't think you'd want to get rid of it yet.
No, I that is a discussion for later, but that is not going on the first round. Card Shark, again, a game I enjoyed. I think that it is fun. It's not going to win best indie. There are
No.
like 5 indie games on here I liked more.
Stray is straying.
I am fine with that because I know how you feel about Stray.
I love Stray.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Endling, I don't want to cut.
I can understand it. I don't know if it'll be the one to stay, but I'm fine with not getting rid of it yet.
Yeah, it's really the competition here. There were some strong indie games this year that, yeah.
All right. Immortality. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on to Rollerdrome, which I enjoy, but compared to the others here, I think it's going.
Yeah. And finishing with Escape Academy is one I want to stay.
Personally, would I
Get rid
take
of Neon White. Get rid of it.
let's not go there yet.
Personally,
Although
get rid of it.
I all right. I think that if we're getting rid of Neon White, then I think that we are keeping Endling over Escape Academy. I would take if this were up to me, I would take all 3 of Immortality, Endling, and Neon White over Stray.
No.
And I know
No.
you're not going to accept that. So
No.
that's why I'm saying if we're getting rid of Neon White, let's get rid of Escape Academy. The other 4
No.
games, other than Escape Academy, I will say are all in my top 10, and Escape Academy is not.
Escape Academy is in mine. Neon White is a game I did not play.
I think it's a fair bargain getting rid of Neon White and Escape Academy. We both lose one we really like.
I don't think so, because I value Escape Academy more than Endling.
Okay, well, I mean, I I'm fine with keeping Escape Academy, losing Neon White if we also lose Stray.
No.
Okay, how about
No.
this? Will we agree on moving Immortality and Stray to being in the final 3?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get that just completely out of the way. Immortality and Stray move up, which means we have to cut 2 out of the 3 of Neon White, Endling, and Escape Academy.
And to be honest, is gonna be the third spot because I'm already giving you Immortality as the first one. Stray is gonna be the second one.
I was ready for that argument because I know how much you enjoy Stray. But if we're not gonna honestly, if you're just gonna give me Immortality for best indie, fuck Neon White and Endling. I am fine with Escape Academy being the third one. Or if we're bargaining
You,
here, like
if you, I already know how fond you are of Immortality, and I'm fine with giving that to best indie. I love Stray. I did not play Immortality, and when I end up getting spoiled for whatever, I will probably agree. But Stray definitely has to be up there, and I think out of the rest of the three, Escape Academy is one that stood out to me much more and fit much more aligned with my interests.
I am willing to do this, even though like I said, I would take Neon White and Endling over Stray and Escape Academy. But I know
Mhm.
Stray is staying. I
Yes.
I I haven't finished Escape Academy. I do really like Escape Academy though. So
Did you at
if
least
this
get up to
is
the rival room?
yes, that was actually the last thing that we did was the rival room.
That was, in my opinion, the best part of the game. I loved the rival room.
I I I wish the weight thing where you had to put the weights on the three things. When you put three weights on one of the things to get the correct amount and the green light went on, you could then take the three weights off and the green light stayed on, and that confused us because that made it seem like, oh hey,
Hmm.
you got that right. Now move on to the next one.
Okay. I could see that.
But I quite like Escape Academy. If this is the order, I'm cool with it.
Hmm. Sounds
So
good
we're
to me.
calling best indie, Immortality wins. Second place is Stray. Third place, Escape Academy.
Love it.
I did not think I would be
Happy.
so willing to cut Neon White from best indie, but here we are.
Stray is just so good. It is my only 10 out of 10 from this year.
I was expecting Stray to be in this discussion. I am a little surprised by where Escape Academy is with you.
I think I loved Escape Academy, but really sitting down and thinking overall best indie in my opinion would be Stray. I it's the only 10 out of 10 that I gave. I love it. I did not find really a single problem with it. I had so much fun exploring, just being a cat. It just did it for me.
I am on. I meant it more as like I'm surprised Escape Academy is so high for you.
I like escape rooms. I've done a few of them. I want to do much more. And just as one that's been stuck in my mind for most of the year, besides not getting the pre-release code or anything, like I have just wanted to play it. And as soon as I found out it was on Game Pass, I had so much more fun than I even thought after being excited for it. It's good. It's a good game. And
I do.
that
Yeah,
ending threw me the fuck off.
that is not where I thought that game was gonna go in terms of story, which is
Right?
that is very interesting.
It's something.
All
Let's
right.
bring it to best game mechanic, our other new little topic and nomination.
Yeah, this one's a little all over the place. This is a weird
There
one.
is. There's a lot, but let's start off with Harvestella and its time mechanic. Dylan?
Th- I don't want to cut. Okay, so for the record, a lot of these mechanics.
I just like the second one. Can I just point out Disney Dreamlight Valley hanging out.
We'll
Just
get to
hanging
that.
out.
No,
I
there's a
know.
real
I
mechanic.
know. I know what it is. I just like just hanging out, just chilling.
I a lot of these mechanics are things that have been done in many games before. I think it's just the way it applies to the game and how well done it could be to the game and how much it adds to the game. That's kind of where I was coming from with this. And
Mhm.
the way time works in Harvestella, how it's, you wake up at 6 or 7 a.m., depending on what's happening in the story. And you have to be back in bed by midnight, or you collapse from exhaustion and someone brings you home and you have to pay a bunch of money to the doctor. It's a whole thing. The way it works with the design of the game of, okay, I wake up early in the morning, I tend to my farm, I make sure my animals are well fed, I maybe pet them a little bit. Then I go to town. The shop's all open. I think it's either 8 or 9 a.m. I want to say it's 9 a.m. But by the time I'm done with the farm, it is like the perfect time for the shops to open in town. And I go shopping, I get what I need, maybe upgrade my farm. Then I do some side quests. There's a lot of side quests. And then it's usually like maybe 6, 7 o'clock at night. And it gives me enough time to make a satisfying amount of progress either in the main story itself or in the dungeon of the main story that I'm currently working on. I think the way it all comes together in a perfect game design way of always making just the right amount of progress in the main story while completing a bunch of side activities is impressive. To take a mechanic I usually hate in games and make it something I love about this game.
Okay. Initially, it sounded like you were saying this is a much stricter Animal Crossing, and that's cool.
No, no, that's not what I meant. But I didn't know what else to call it other than time. Maybe like time management. Maybe.
Yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, it sounds much more subjective for the person playing and what they want to end up doing. So like it just so happens for you, you find the perfect amount of time to do your routine. But it's like what if
Yeah.
my
So
routine?
I Harvestella, I guess I will say, is within my top 10 of this year.
Mhm.
And when I wrote about it for the post on the website, that is exactly we've talked about this before. I can have a very systematic brain. I like to make a
Yeah.
system for something and apply it. I applied my system to Harvestella. It scratches that itch for me and I love it. But I also am looking at other nominees here, and do I think that that will hold up against other mechanics here? No, I don't.
It I wouldn't say I'm ready to cut it for you yet, but as
I'm
someone who hasn't played it, you are doing a good job at describing your situation, but at the same time it still feels very specific.
It definitely is specific, and it is just the way my brain works and how it scratches that itch for me. So
But I
I'm
do
fine with
understand
keeping
that
it.
at least.
I'm
Okay, we'll
fine with
hold on to it for
yeah,
now.
okay, yeah. Disney Dreamlight Valley hanging out.
Just chilling like a villain.
I okay, here's where I think this is smart. It Every character, all your villagers in Dreamlight Valley, all the Disney characters have their friendship quests. You can level them up to level 10 friendship, which each level unlocks the next step in their quest. It can be a real pain in the ass to level them up through just talking to them or giving them gifts.
Mhm.
But once a character reaches level 1 or 2 with you, you basically assign a job for them, which is either fishing, farming, gardening. I, I don't remember all of them. There was one who was just like picking up like flowers, like wildflowers off the ground. I don't remember what the name of that one was.
Mhm.
Um, but it basically makes it so you can okay. Let's just use Mickey Mouse as the example. I have Mickey Mouse as a farmer. If I ask Mickey Mouse to hang out with me while I'm harvesting all my crops and farming, he gets a bunch of extra friendship points and he levels up so much quicker. I have Merlin. He's a miner for me. And
Not what I would expect from Merlin.
when I am running around the map of Disney Dreamlight Valley and mining and he's with me. So I will also throw in that if I have Merlin hanging out with me while I'm mining or Mickey hanging out with me while I'm farming, they also will throw in a shit ton of extra resources for you. So I have a
Mhm.
pretty big farm. As I'm picking up all those crops, Mickey will just be like, here's extra carrots, here's extra carrots, here's some more. Or Merlin will just be like, here's extra gems while we're hanging out and mining.
But would you really say that that is something overall that changes the game, other than just like a fun little gimmick that just
I
kind of helps out a little bit?
I think I think that that's a better way of putting it. Do I think it drastically changes the game? No. Do
Because
I
when I
think
think
it
of best game mechanic, I think of something that really either helps out or makes it stand out the most. This just seems sort of more along the lines of convenience for a game that
that is what it is.
really, a game
It
like this really has you put in your time and just it asks for a commitment, and to make that commitment easier is something like this.
I think that's
So,
it's part of just the general, hey, this took stuff from Animal Crossing and just made it better. It makes this whole thing of leveling up your villagers and continuing their quest not so much a pain in the ass, and instead you get a reward out of doing this. But
mhm.
I'm totally fine with cutting it. I don't feel that passionately about it. I just think it's a great mechanic.
I would say I'm fine with cutting it.
See ya, Disney.
Now, this next one is a little difficult because this is one that I have not encountered myself, and that would be Escape Academy with its co-op split screen toggle. This is all you.
This is such a simple thing that makes such a big difference in the game. To where, I mean, you know how in Escape Academy, there are plenty of times where it's like, oh, I need this this like key, for example, not a physical key, but like this means this and this means this for a specific puzzle.
Like it's
Eh,
almost better having the second brain. It just like to or like a reference in a way.
Yeah, it's not even like the second brain. It's the fact that you don't have to either take a picture and write stuff down, or the worst
Mhm,
scenario is run back and forth of like, oh, purple means this, let me run back here, right, I apply this, now let's go back, red means this, okay, let's go back. It is as
mhm,
simple as I was so playing with my girlfriend, she'll be looking at something and it has kind of like the answer key to something, and I'm gonna go apply that in the actual puzzle. Instead of having to even just read it off, I can just simply hit R2, and I half of my screen is I'm seeing what she sees then, and I can just
mhm.
apply it. It makes it so much easier, and it is such a smart little thing.
That feels like it falls more alongside the convenience route,
It does. It totally does.
especially for a game that doesn't need to be in co-op. It like I played it perfectly fine solo, but I can see how it can be like a nice help, but I
I mean,
don't feel like it's worth staying.
some of it. I mean, yeah, I'm fine with that because some of this is in your field too. Of would that have really made a huge difference for you playing Escape Academy?
Right.
And if it sounds like no, it would not have made that big of a difference for you.
No, because I still loved it regardless, and it's just the overall feeling of the game itself that is what drew me in. Playing solo or not, like solo, I still had just as much fun, and it still wound up in my top 10 because I love those kind of games.
Okay, so that's gone. The mortuary assistant random scares, I think it's effective that the scares are completely random. It's not necessarily the most original thing though, because a lot of games do this.
Yeah,
I'm
it
fine
just
with just
seems like,
destroying this.
yeah, I'm fine with that. Next up is Elden Ring with Torrent, and I feel like that is one to keep.
Yes, okay. I'm glad you said that because this is one of those situations where, like, sure, having a mount in a game is certainly not new, but the
But
way
when it
it can,
comes to the gameplay of like
yeah,
taking out, like there is no way you can take out certain bosses without Torrent. Like that changes the gameplay
it drastically
definitely,
changes it.
and
So,
it helps out a lot. So that's staying.
Immortality, the match cut mechanic, and really the thing that impressed me the most or stuck with me the most with Immortality is the story.
Hmm.
But the match cut mechanic is impressive. And this is the thing of like, okay, you're watching one of the video clips, right? It's a, let's say it's a scene from a movie. In that scene,
Hmm.
there is an apple on a desk. You click on that apple, it zooms in on it, zooms back out, and you are now in a new scene from either a completely different movie or maybe it's a behind the scenes thing. And that there's an apple there. It basically uses the apple to transfer you from one scene to another.
Hmm.
And the thing that impresses me most about that is how much like just trying to put myself in the shoes of the director of something like this,
Yeah.
how every little thing had to be so meticulously planned, and every single thing on there is almost every, I mean, some are a lot easier because, like, yes, you can click out a window, and a lot of other things that are filmed will have windows in it,
Yeah.
but it gets very specific to where it was very clear, like, you could not wing this had to be very meticulously planned, and every single thing in each set had to be thought about.
I'm fine with keeping it for now.
All right, cool.
Next is Endling Extinction is Forever, the pup survival. This is one that I feel like I would keep. I wouldn't say it's new, but it's central.
The reason I put it on here is, yeah, because of that tension it adds. If there is no tension of these pups not surviving, or if it's just as simple as, oh, it's a game over, we'll just restart from the checkpoint,
Yeah.
that if that, like, the impact of the game would be so much less.
It comes down more to bias, but for example, the pup that who ended up getting taken from me was the one that I ended up deeming my favorite. Out of, like, once I finished designing whatever my pups are gonna look like, I deemed that one of my favorite, and of course, that was the one that ended up getting taken. To which, I mean, you could make the argument that I didn't have to give a shit about any other of the pups, but I mean, it's still they're animals. Of course, you're gonna give a shit. But I feel
Yeah,
like that was so central to what it was is enough to really make it stay.
yeah, I'm totally cool with keeping that. Card Shark, the touchscreen controls, I think that it definitely feels better than just hitting the buttons, and I think it works really well. But I see you shaking your head no, and I'm really not going to fight that, because I would say all of these other systems or mechanics are better.
Yes. Pokemon Legends Arceus with the stealth.
Keep it.
Now, are you putting that with the catching mechanic because of, like, stealth and then,
That's
like, that stealth catching?
that's really what I mean by that. Yeah, it's the, like, sneaking in grass, getting behind a Pokemon, hitting it with a ball from behind, and that making
Mm-hmm.
it, just catching it like that in that
All right.
way is really, like, probably the biggest reason why I like Arceus as much as I do, is that
And to be
change.
honest, the main reason why this is a category.
It is what inspired this category. Yes, what I was thinking about the stealth mechanic and wanting that to be, like, highlighted. It was like, well, let's do
Hmm.
a best game mechanic, and I think that there ended up being some pretty impressive ones throughout the year to where it worked. But
Yeah, yes, but I'm all good with keeping that because of what it is. Because if it wasn't for how well Scarlet and Violet rounded out to be Pokemon games, that would be mainly the sole reason why Arceus would have been at my top.
all right, so let's keep that.
Hmm.
Now, chorus and the whole, I called it drifting. I know that's not what it's actually called.
It pretty much is, though. It's you pretty a lot of it. I mean, that's what made it fun, is the drifting into, like, different maneuvers, and I feel like a lot of the gameplay was that. It's not. I don't know if I would necessarily. I it might not be the first to have done so, but it might have been the first to have done so fluidly, so well.
It When you, like, understand how it works and you get it, and then doing that the whole game, you always feel cool doing it. At least I did. I never started to do it and be like, oh, that okay, it's whatever now. It always felt really cool.
Uh huh. I
But
think I think compared to the rest of these,
yeah,
it's fine to be cut. And
that's where I was
looking
going
at
to go with that.
this being the last one, looking at the last six, I think we should cut both Chorus with its drifting and Harvestella with its time.
I am, yeah, I'm fine with that. I think the Harvestella thing, it may be a very, just the way my brain works. And honestly, Disney Dreamlight Valley had more of that, as it had that as well. I just think Harvestella works better with applying that system with my brain.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm, compared to the rest, yeah, let's get rid of chorus and the drifting mechanic. Oh god, I hit the wrong button. Okay,
Oh.
that's gone. Harvest. I hit F12 and it brought up the, like, the system
Hacking.
thing. Yeah. I became a hacker for a second. It was dangerous.
Looking at these last four, I feel like the last one that I would want to cut would probably be Endling.
That is also exactly where my brain was at. Out of these
Hmm.
four, Endling is the one that now okay. That leaves us with these three. I don't
Now
know what you
it makes it difficult because Immortality is just another FMV game, but does come out with something cool. While both Elden Ring and Pokemon Legends Arceus are games that came out with a new mechanic in a series that has been so long running that has made such a massive difference in how they are played.
I think that that's really like the argument here is like Immortality did something with that match cut mechanic that I haven't seen in a video game before and is impressive. But
Hmm.
I think that you could have presented the video clips in a different way with Immortality, and if you keep the story the same, like if you somehow unlocked video clips in a different way, that game, the impact is not changed. It is really the story and the
Yeah.
discovery. Whereas something like applying a mount with Torrent and Elden Ring, or really what I think should win this, is the stealth mechanic in Arceus. Stealth is not
Hmm.
new. That's been in gaming like almost since the beginning of games. But what it does for a Pokemon game drastically changes everything.
I mean, that depends how we want to look at it. Because, again, mounts are nothing new, but really does drastically change it. So, are we looking at best game mechanic or best game's use of a mechanic?
I think it's really best game's use of a mechanic, because otherwise we're just talking about the mechanic of having a mount or stealth, and that is not
Hmm.
really the idea here.
If
But
that's the case, I would definitely put Pokemon above Elden Ring.
I agree. I was worried you were going to argue the opposite there, but I think that if
Hmm.
you take Torrent out of Elden Ring,
It's still
fast
playable.
travel, yeah, fast travel works just fine for getting around the world. And I honestly, the first time I'm going through an area, I explore it just on foot anyway to make sure I don't miss anything. I
Hmm.
think if you take the stealth part out of Arceus, that
You
game loses so much.
you do not have the same game.
I'm also fine with keeping Immortality at third if we want to make that our order.
If that's what you're thinking, then I am fine with that because it's I can understand how the effort was put into Immortality with that mechanic, but if you were saying narratively and by the end of it, it wasn't enough to stand out the most and be that impactful change, something like Torrent or the Stealth, I feel like the Stealth from Legends Arceus is the most impactful change mechanic wise that has either helped the game or that been some sort of central focus.
Yeah, that's really with Immortality. Like, it is very impressive how it works, but if you somehow were unlocking video clips in a different way, but kept the story, the discovery of everything like all the same, the game hits just as well.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Shaking.
Pokemon Legends Arceus wins Best Game Mechanic with the Stealth Mechanic, followed by Elden Ring with Torrent and Immortality's Match Cut. All
It's time.
right. This is really what we've been building towards.
The official Offshore's top 10.
So last year, what we did was we went back and forth reading off our individual top tens. Should we do that again?
I don't see why not.
Because I put games I put a lot of these games on here before I actually made my top 10. I had kind
Hmm.
of 15-ish games I was looking at and just threw them on here. Not all of these games are even in my top 10. I know for a fact they're not in yours.
Hmm.
You had no honorable mentions, right?
No, not enough to warrant.
So I have two honorable mentions that I will just start with that I really liked this year, but did not make the cut in my top 10. Starting with Rollerdrome. That game was a lot of fun. I think more games need to apply Tony Hawk to it. That's really the end result there. But it was not enough to be carried into the top 10. And
Hmm.
I know you're not going to like this. My second and last honorable mention was Escape Academy.
What are you gonna
I
do?
I quite enjoy it. It just did not make the cut, and maybe if I finish it and played it earlier in the year, it would be in that top 10 spot. But
It makes sense. Yeah.
I it's nothing against the game. I really enjoy Escape Academy. I just maybe not finishing it is what hurt it here at my list.
So what's your number 10?
Nintendo Switch Sports. I
Okay.
I had a lot of fun. That is, I mean, neither of us are the type of person that I mean, maybe Marvel Snap will go against this argument later, but we're not really the type of people that takes a game like Switch Sports or an online focused thing and that's just our thing. We are much more
Yeah.
about beating campaigns and stories. So yes, this Switch Sports only lasted 2 to 3 weeks, really, but those were really fun 2 to 3 weeks. The online on Nintendo works surprisingly well, which
Hmm.
does is not always the case with Nintendo. But it is just it's Wii Sports 2, and it is a lot of fun. Specifically volleyball. That was my favorite one.
It ain't broke, and they added like 2 new things.
Yes. So it was just a good old fun time. It just makes my top 10.
It's been like 14 years, but fuck it.
Fuck it.
Rounding out the base of my top 10 is going to be Saints Row. If I ended up beating more games, because there's only one game technically on my top 10 that I have not beaten. And
You did way better than me then.
okay, all right, two that I know for a fact that I have not beaten, but one that is enough to the point where I assume that I'll really enjoy it more than the rest of these. I have that feeling. But Saints Row, after some of the other disappointments of this year for me, ended up coming out as more of a high point than some of a lot of other people. It's very unfortunate that this game did not meet the certain sales quotas that they were searching for and ended up having Volition be absorbed into Gearbox. It's never fun when a game makes a company make a transition like that. But personally, this is the best Saints Row game that we have had since Saints Row 3. It had a lot of that rounded out comedy, uh wacky Saints Row, but still trying to harness back to that 1 and 2 of like we are a gang, like this is us. Maybe leaning a little too far into that wacky side sometimes, but it still had that feeling of like we're just a small gang. We need to run this street. We are the Third Street Saints. And with all the other stuff inside of it, the flying jets around, driving the fun cars, doing the crazy missions, it was still overall much more fun because it just didn't care and it was just a video game at the end of the day. It was just fun to be fun.
I'm honestly just trying to remember back to when you talked about Saints Row on the podcast. I thought this was going to be higher than number 10 for you because you seem to really like it.
I really did enjoy it. I think compared to some of the other ones that came out later and some of the ones that really held true, to be honest, it just makes the list because of either games that I have not finished or ones that I just did not end up getting to play as of this year.
All right. I guess that will bring us to our number nines. My number nine, which I know is going to be higher on your list, was Stray. I
Hmm.
quite enjoy this game. It is good. I mean, really, the thing that carries it is the cat character. Who's not going to love being that cat? I
Yeah.
think the world is kind of interesting and cool with all the robots and like what was happening there. But really, what carried the game for me was cat.
Yeah, that's the
Like
main
that was
reason to
it.
go to the game. And it
Yeah,
did cat so well. So
it does cat very well. Uh,
very
I
well.
I think it would be higher up if I had two things. I think two of my biggest frustrations with Stray were I don't know if you had this problem. I struggled with directing the cat. Like I would say, like, no, jump here, and then it would like jump down instead of like going further up, and I'm like, no, don't do that. I
There
had
were
that
some
happen quite a
moments
few times.
where it had sort of that like Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2 style like
Yes,
direction.
that's a good
Uh,
comparison.
Yeah, because it didn't necessarily do the parkour that I wanted it to do, but it also wasn't the end. Like the maps were small enough, but they were
Uh,
like vertical and fun, but it wasn't enough to really piss me off. But that
no,
is one thing they
yeah.
could have had more work done into it.
I also think that again, it's kind of the same idea. It it doesn't hurt the game in a big way for me, but when you're trying to collect everything and get everything, and then not really knowing that you can't go back to areas, or
That
sometimes,
that is the most annoying that I've come
yeah,
across,
and
especially
it's
because I got every single memory except for one, and I love the game. It's not necessarily the type that I'm ready to hop back into and just play through again, no matter how short it is. It's fun. You kind of get your fill, but it still sticks with you.
yes, and I also missed one, and it was also because it was unclear that the thing I was about to be doing was going to be moving me on to the next area, and I wouldn't be able to go back. So
Hmm.
a couple negatives, nothing really grand against it. It's fun. It's a good game.
My number 9 is going to be New Tales from the Borderlands.
I
If
completely forgot about that game.
October 21st. I was very excited, and I think it ended up coming out as an overall good game, but nothing enough to really have it shine above the first one, because the first one kind of came out and it was like, oh shit, there's a Borderlands Telltale game? That's awesome. And I think it's cool that Gearbox is still in the process of like continuing it, especially since as of technically, as of right now, post credit scene of Tales from the Borderlands, we are still waiting on 8-year-old cliffhangers. It's a game that accomplishes what it does while doing its own thing, but not enough to make it jump above the original. I think it was a good, fun game.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that. That sounds like more than anything a negative. That it sounds like it didn't do enough to really advance Borderlands as a whole narrative.
No, it just kind of goes over these character stories. Some you do know, some you don't. Like, you do but do not know Franz Frogerts. You know her shop as like a little throwaway thing in Borderlands 3, but now she's a full fleshed out character who's dealing with that situation from Borderlands 3. And like that's a cool connection to it, but I feel like these characters are fun and I like them, but do not offer the same excitement and impact that the original characters did in the first game. I still expect to see them around in Borderlands 4, etc., but it's not the same. It's in a way of like Guardians 1 is charming and amazing and Guardians 2 is good.
Yes. I wouldn't even call it good. I don't like Guardians too.
I enjoyed Guardians 2.
Well, I guess it is. This is one of the things that also fascinates me about doing Game of the Year is the fact that like two Borderlands games came out this year, and I assume Tiny Tina's Wonderlands did not make your top 10 in general, and the other one was your number 9 spot. But who knows? Maybe it'll
Yep.
come out and be like, my number 2 is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Yeah, imagine. Just like last
Uh,
year, the fact that Far Cry 6 could win most disappointing and still wind up on your top 10.
yeah, it did do that, so I guess we'll see.
Yep.
Uh, my number 8 goes to Harvestella. I
Okay.
really like this, and maybe it would have been higher if I, finish it. Which the review is still coming. It's a big game and came out at a bad time.
Yes, it did.
So still working on that. It is a big game, especially if you're doing all the side quests, which I think is a big pro for this game. The side quests are more than just like quick little one-offs. Even though a lot of them, like the first one will be like, oh, okay, you have to go get these items, you come back, whatever. Like that in a vacuum is nothing. It's the fact that you do one side quest and that just you continue on these whole big side quest storylines with the same recurring characters.
Hmm.
So I really like the way that's done as opposed to just like quick one-off side quests that maybe some leave an impact but are mostly forgettable.
Hmm.
The whole time thing we already talked about. That's why it's here, and I am mostly intrigued by the main story. So
Okay.
all around, I have a really fun time with this game.
My number 8 is going to be Escape Academy. I do not think it's worthy of being that high compared to some of the other releases, but it is one that has been so dug deep into my brain ever since the idea of getting the pre-release code and just the idea of like, oh shit, there's like a true escape room game. And it's not just like these shitty escape room games of like, oh, we're trying to be creepy and Saw like. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's an
yeah,
escape room. It's fun. Like, yeah, that's awesome. And the where the story went, everything about it, and the rival room is the high point of that game for me. I think that is so cool.
it
I
is.
I
Yeah,
just
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a. I do like the rival room. Can it? Do you go back to the rival room, or is it just like that one thing?
It's the one thing, but at that point you're
Okay.
pretty close to the end anyway.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't realize that we were that close.
Yeah. But I love it. Escape Academy is just a good fun game and it's something new. It's something not necessarily new, but it does the right things and it feels refreshing.
You could take that last line and apply it to my number 7, which is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It
Refreshing.
it's refreshing for the Kirby series, even though it's not necessarily new, right? Like it's a 3D platformer. You go through the levels. There's all sorts of little hidden secrets to find through the levels. It's not new. This has happened in so many 3D platformers. It works extremely well with Kirby. I think it is the perfect balance between combat, which you get a decent amount of with Kirby in general, 3D platforming, and just exploring little hidden secrets. One of my biggest knocks against the game is that it leans too heavily. I am I have a little bit of a completionist bug in me, so I did almost everything in this game except for the final boss gauntlet because it was too much. It was just too annoying. And I'm fine
Mhm.
with things being hard and frustrating, but when you have to constantly replay through like the easier parts of the, because it's like 5 bosses in a row essentially, when
Mhm.
you have to keep replaying through the first 3 or 4 phases that you have no problem with just to get to the last one to retry it again, that it's frustrating more than it is fun.
I will
But
say there were there are two Switch games that I didn't end up playing this year that I really wanted to, and one of them was Project Triangle Strategy and Kirby.
so Kirby, as much as I like that negative part really sticks with me, I really enjoy Kirby. And also a big reason I enjoy it so much is because of what the, I don't remember if it's officially called Waddle D Town, or but the Waddle D Town, the main hub area that you go back to between levels.
It's my
Constantly
birthday
unlocking,
time.
constantly unlocking uh new activities to do there. Like whether it's just the fishing mini game or the tilt and roll thing where like you're, the thing where you tilt it and the ball moves around. You have to get through a maze without falling
Labyrinth.
into a hole.
Labyrinth.
Yes, labyrinth. Yes, they called it tilt and roll in Kirby, but yes, labyrinth. Thank you.
Mhm.
The gotcha machines are fun. I collected all of them. Stuff like that really added to the charm of Kirby.
I love gotchas. I mean, that's Kirby. Easterwood had some gotchas too. They're just fun.
So Kirby has Gotcha Alley, which starts with
Hmm.
one Gotcha machine with all the Series 1 figures, and then as you continue in the game, it unlocks 2 more Gotcha machines with Series 2 and Series 3 of figures.
Ooh, that's exciting.
It was more fun than I thought it would be, just that aspect alone.
Gotchas are fun. They just are.
Yeah.
My number 7 is Marvel Snap.
I really thought that was going to be like within your top 3.
It I think overall it's a very fun and addicting game, but because it's me and who I am, I'm still much more focused on the single player aspect of certain games, and that's just what I stick to. But Marvel Snap made such an impact on me that there was no way I couldn't put it on here. Like similar to the year that you put, I mean last year when you put Apex on your top 10, this is my Apex.
I did that in 2017 when the game came out.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, yes, I
We're
understand what
getting
you're
to the
saying.
point of the pod where I'm a little tipsy, but either way, either way, it's one of those where I never expected it to make such. It like I said, not really a day goes by where I'm not playing. It's so quick. It's such a fast like. All right, I'm in between games. Oh, let me just. I'm in the bathroom. Like in between chores. It doesn't matter. It's just such a fast thing to do. You complete your little challenges. I do the season passes. I do their little like as of right now. I've completed all the season pass missions for the current season. Like I keep up with it, and I'm just so in depth with it that either a multiplayer game or something, especially a mobile game, has never done to me before. And only for that reason do I feel like it's enough to land on here because of just the splash that it made for me.
Yeah, like I really thought it was gonna be higher for you, so I'm a little surprised at how low it is.
I still try to focus on the single player, and I feel like the single player experiences made much more of an impact. But Marvel Snap is much more of a recent one and one that I'm still doing. But once you finish, it's like, all right, I've done enough challenges for today. I've lost enough for today. I don't want to feel even more sad today, but I'm still having fun. There's still
Yeah.
tomorrow.
All right, number 6. Mine was Neon White. It is a game all about speed running, and I typically don't like speed running. I like to take my time with games and explore, but this one just feels so good. It is, I think, the biggest difference with this being like a speed running game is really that it's a puzzle game more than anything, because
Mm-hmm.
you're picking up cards and each card represents a weapon that is like a one-time use. You get a shotgun card, you're going to use the shotgun. That all also come with like special movement power-ups, and you don't like pick a deck, you find the cards throughout the level as you go through. So really it's about like, oh, they gave me this card, why did they give me this card, what is the fastest way for me to kill all the demons as I go through this level as quick as possible.
I feel like when it comes to roguelikes, and I feel like for something like for you and me specifically, I feel like these game designers are like, how do I make a game that's what this genre is, but make it fun for the people who don't like this genre? So, like, even when it comes to roguelikes, like you and me, very similarly, we don't necessarily care for speed running. Don't get me wrong, I will speed run Gone Home any day of the
That's
week.
that. I don't think that counts though. No, that doesn't count.
It doesn't matter. I have the achievement for beating it in under a minute. I can speedrun that game if you ask me. But a game like this, very speedrunning focused, games that are very roguelike focused, it's like, how are we able to make that for the people who don't like these kind of games? And I feel like Neon White is a good one for how do we make a speedrunning game for people who don't like speedrunning games?
Yes, that is exactly by making it more of a puzzle game than anything, but it does invoke that feeling of when you have a good run and you get through a level real fast, you're like, I'm a fucking speedrunner. I could do this.
Yeah. Right?
Even though obviously if I were to actually try and speedrun a game, I would not even come close to a top time. But it invokes that feeling within you. And the presentation, like the style, the art style of not even within the game, but more the visual novel side of it, like the way the characters look, I like it, you did a, it was a good word earlier when you said kind of punk style. I just, I like that. I'm into that style. It worked here. The voice acting was pretty good. The characters, even though some got annoying, were
Mhm.
pretty good. And I really like the side quest thing of each character. Once you level them up enough by just talking to them between levels, you unlock side quests, and each character, based on the type of person they are, have completely different styles of levels to them. So
And aren't there
Neon,
like presents too? Like you can find presents
yes,
and levels to give as gifts to like whatever. Do they really expand more instead of on like the visual novel style as more of like a friendship meter in a way like that?
it's yeah. So to continue on with someone's friendship meter, you need to give them the right present, which you're not really choosing. You just happen to find presents in levels that is kind of like another thing. You are constantly replaying levels because yes, you will want to get the fastest time you can to get all the medals that you need, but
Hmm.
also you then take your time through a level because each level does have a hidden present within it that is usually
Right.
way off the beaten path that you would not find by just speed running it. And it is a whole puzzle within itself to find that present. Then you give it to a character, it levels up their friendship meter, which then unlocks those side quests and those other levels. It does unlock a little bit of lore about them that I mostly find completely forgettable, but
Yeah.
the side missions that you get through them are completely unique to that character, and I quite enjoyed that.
All right. My number 6 was Chorus.
Whoa, plot twist.
Looking back at all the games that I have played and finished, and just all the games that really have stuck out to me, and and this is part of the reason why I listened to 2021's Game of the Year, was to fully see if, like, because we did stop it at the end of November, so technically Chorus does count since we go from December
Oh,
to
it
November.
it totally counts.
For me personally, a game this I love flight games, anything sci-fi related, and just the way this game felt just stuck out so much to me. And it might have just been like the fact of like I just think about it a lot, just kind of like randomly. Like I'll be like, "Oh right, Chorus happened," and that was just a fun game to play. And I can't necessarily think of anything that really relates or reminds me of on this level. Like I've never really cared for Star Fox games. I played flight games in the past, but not one that felt like this fluid. And even though being stuck in third person, it had some really cool moments. And that's just, I don't know, it's one of those that just kind of like latched onto me and stuck to me. And I was just a big fan of Chorus. And I want more. I want to feel more without replaying it.
That is a complete surprise to me. I didn't think that was going to be anywhere near your top 10.
It just, what I remember taking a piece of paper and writing down the games that came to my head that were going to be in my top 10, and Chorus went down, and I was just like, you know what? Yeah, Chorus.
I feel like my top 10 is always so predictable. And yours is like it was last year, right? When you gave Resident Evil Village your game of the year. That I would also completely blindsided me.
Did I give that my full game of the year?
Yeah, you did.
All right.
It was your game. It was it,
I know I
I think
listened to the episode recently, but I'm a little
yeah.
surprised that it wasn't Eastward. But at the same time, like, this is another one for me personally. Like, I love, like, I didn't finish it, but Octopath Traveler. I'm a Game Boy guy. I love Game Boy games. I grew up with the Game Boy. Anything like that, and Eastward is that, and I love that. But at the same time, for someone who either does not care about horror games, or like I'm one of those who goes to the movies in a horror movie and I'm just like, I don't care, this is too predictable and I don't get scared. It's like you're just here for jump scares, but when you're playing a video game, you are interactive. That's a different thing.
It
And
does
Resident Evil
completely change it.
7, comparatively, Resident Evil 7 being first person was one of the first games that was in that horror genre that I felt confident and like happy enough to play, and it was amazing. And Resident Evil Village was another one that was just incredible because it continued that, but also had so many elements like Lady Dimitrescu or so many other things. It was just such like a prominent part of that game that was so good. Like it was just probably honestly another surprise of just like, wow, I loved another horror game.
Yeah, Village is great. I did double check. You gave last year game of the year was Resident Evil Village for you, and your number 2 was Eastward.
That makes sense.
Anyway, that was a tangent. Number 5 for me was Endling Extinction is Forever.
Okay.
I can't. It's just merit alone to being the only game to make me shed tears this year. There usually is one, maybe two a year that does that to me. It was this one this year. It got me, especially the very end. It really hit me. Even though I will say, which I don't think there's any need to go into the spoiler territory here, the thing that happened was not necessarily a big surprise to me. I just really didn't want it to happen. And then it did, and it broke my heart.
I mean, that's how it happens. I mean, I can make an argument for my number 5 spot, but that would go into certain spoilers, which I don't necessarily want to go into. But its effect in Endling was something that was very prominent, whether it was predictable or not. It still mattered to me.
Oh yes, it very much so mattered. So that is why number 5, it makes the top half for me.
For my number 5, this is the first game that I have not finished, and that is God of War Ragnarok. And that is just one that I assume will just be really great. I just assume I'll enjoy it.
I think
Uh,
that that is 5 is a very fair spot for the game that you have not finished that is so narrative driven, but you pretty much figure that you will. I think 5 is a very fair spot for that.
coming across from the original God of War 2018 and just knowing what kind of game it was and just assuming what I'll get out of it and knowing the quality that it is, I think it's fair to put it at number 5.
Totally. My number 4, which I don't think I have to go too deep into, is Disney Dreamlight Valley. It is
Okay.
just Animal Crossing, but so much better in almost every aspect. So that's it. It's just
All right.
that's my argument for it. Better Animal Crossing.
Well, to keep it nice and simple, my number 4 is Stray, which we already talked about. I love that game. My only 10 out of 10. I thought that game was just perfect. I fuck with that game hard.
It is a good game, and so the rest of these, I don't think we need to go into super detail now because I'm sure we will as we argue about them, but we also kind of already have gone into detail with a lot of it, which
Top
is
3.
top 3. My number 3, which might even be your number 3, is Pokemon Legends Arceus.
That is also my number 3.
I I think I know what you're. I think I know where this is going. All right.
I think you do too.
My number 2 is Immortality.
All right. Okay. I'm
I
not too surprised.
no, that game left a pretty heavy impact on me.
Yeah. Um my number 2 is Elden Ring.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
that this is where this is. Yep.
Now, I think it is I we've talked about it all episode, but I think it is fair to say that it is astounding the fact that a Souls game is so high up. So high up.
Yeah, it is. It if you couldn't figure this out by process of elimination, Elden Ring is my number 1 game of the year.
Uh Leading to my number 1 being Pokemon Violet specifically, because that's the one I played and it's pretty fucking obvious.
I we 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 have talked about this briefly. We never officially confirmed it. I knew our game of the year, it was going to be the Elden Ring Pokemon argument.
You see, the thing that was difficult was figuring out whether it was Violet and Scarlet or Arceus, because Arceus really made that jump, but Violet really hones in on what a true Pokemon game should be from this point on, while only being like the bottom tier of what it could be if you're even bringing in technical aspect, but like it is just overall Pokemon. This Gen 9 is it.
All right. Let's we have some games on here. Like I said, I just threw some on here. There are games that didn't make either of our top 10. So I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is not going to be in our top 10.
No.
Mario and Rabbids
Mario and
Sparks of
Rabbids
Hope.
Sparks of Hope.
Yeah.
Plague's Tale Requiem.
Yeah, that again, maybe if I finished that, it would have had more of an impact, but just didn't.
If I were to pick a honorable mention, I'd probably go with Steel Rising, but that's another one on this that I'm fine with taking off.
Also, my honorable mention of Roller Drome that was on your top 10. I'm honestly not going to fight too hard for it. There's plenty of games I would pick above that, so that does not need to be here.
All right, so going over everything we've talked about, our leftover list for our top 10 is Immortality, Disney Dreamlight Valley, Stray, Harvestella, Elden Ring, Endling Extinction is Forever, Escape Academy, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Nintendo Switch Sports, Neon White, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Chorus, Marvel Snap, New Tales from the Borderlands, and Saints Row. I am going
Huh.
off the bat and saying I'm fine with taking off New Tales from the Borderlands. Honestly, New Tales from the Borderlands and Saints Row.
Okay, kind of going along
Both
with that.
both my
Oh, did
nines
it?
and tens. I'm fine with
Oh.
getting rid of those.
Uh, Nintendo Switch Sports. There's realistically, this is there
Yeah.
are there are just better games here. I just had a lot of fun with it, but
Mm-hmm.
that can go.
One, two,
I
three,
put my list away. I don't even remember what my number 9 was.
13.
So okay, we got 3 more.
Yeah, we're at 13 right now.
Okay. I mean, I know this is not solely up to me.
I
I
know.
I I don't need personally. I don't need Chorus anywhere near this top 10. I know we're jumping high up your list there, but
I know. Hmm.
well, but let me. I don't want to. I know we got to balance this out, and I don't want to be unfair, but because
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the rest of my games that are on this list, and I also don't want to lose them. So
This year we knew this year was going to be a lot more difficult.
yeah, we played so many different things and felt so strongly about very different things to where, yeah.
What's your opinion on Kirby?
I am. I would like Kirby on the list, but realistically, considering this is like our combined top 10 for the official offshore top 10, I
Yeah.
don't think I would fight for it higher than number 10.
Okay. Let's
Um,
I would say as of right now, let's try to focus on the games that we both played and what we didn't play. So like I know Immortality's staying on. I feel
that
like
is definitely staying
Harvestella
on.
would stay on. How do you feel about Neon White?
I would. You know, it's interesting. I put Kirby above Harvestella in my top 10 personally.
Mm-hmm.
It does definitely play into the fact that I finished one and not the other. Because
Yeah.
something about my heart is telling me right now that if I had to cut a game here between like those ones, I would cut Kirby.
I had a feeling.
Like it's a good game. I'm fine with losing Kirby. So let's just buy Kirby.
And now what about Neon White?
What about Neon White, Dave? What about it?
So that leaves us with 12. I feel
Okay.
like if if you got rid of Neon White, I would be okay with getting rid of Chorus.
Huh. This is where deals start coming into place. But
We start making monopoly style deals.
yeah.
Like, all right, you trade this,
Yeah.
I'll trade that.
Um I mean, what did you say Chorus was? It was your number 6?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if I pull my list back up, Neon White it was also my number 6.
Mm-hmm. So
I
I
think
that does feel like it makes it the most fair.
it does, but I am looking up at the rest of this categories and Neon White got no love anywhere.
I know, but at the same time, Chorus is a game that came out early December, and I am still thinking about it. And it is number 6 on my top 10 overall.
Let me throw this one at you. What if we lost Chorus and Harvestella?
You want to get rid of Harvestella?
I would rather have Neon White on this list than Harvestella. Yes.
I am fine with that. I'm a deal. Brings
Okay.
us down to an overall 10.
We have an overall 10. Now it's a matter of ordering them.
Now we do it the way we did last year. We start with the bottom 5.
Bottom 5. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and say Neon White is going to be in that bottom 5.
Neon White. I feel like we should throw Endling and Disney in the bottom 5.
I'm okay with putting Endling down there for now. I'm not ready to do that to Disney.
Okay. Escape Academy, I'd be fine in the bottom 5.
I am totally good with that.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at how are you feeling about Marvel Snap?
It's pretty important.
All right. How you feeling? Oh god. Oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad.
Oh, it's gonna
Oh,
hurt. That's why I'm looking at the rest of these and I'm feeling like Disney Dreamlight Valley should be down in the bottom 5, dude. Because don't get me wrong, I I've watched I have live Twitch streamed someone playing Disney Dreamlight Valley and have found excitement and enjoyment watching this. But I do not feel like with the rest of the games listed that it should be in the top 5.
okay. All right. If Dreamlight Valley is moving down, then one of Stray or Marvel Snap is moving down.
And I knew that Marvel Snap was going to pop in there, and that's what makes it difficult because
If you want to move Stray down to the bottom 5 and keep that kind of that's more on you. I am not super passionate about Stray. I don't need that in my top in this top 5 here. But I think it's fair to say that Immortality, Elden Ring, and both Pokemon games are going to be in our top 5 collectively.
Yes. I'll agree with that.
Which leaves really one spot between Marvel Snap, Stray, and Dreamlight Valley. And
I think
Dreamlight Valley is
I think we should put Dreamlight Valley and
this is the battle within your head, huh? Stray or Marvel Snap.
I'm gonna go with Disney Dreamlight Valley and Stray for bottom 5.
That is, I'm totally fine with that. You seem hurt.
I like I'm trying to give myself like some pleasure from being like, all right, Marvel Snap's up there, but like, oh god, like Stray, in a way, you could kind of say that Stray came and went, but it did for me personally. It made a really nice impact.
I will say that this doesn't necessarily mean it has to be set in stone. If at some point you're like,
yeah,
I Marvel Snap has to go down, I need Stray up there. I'm open to that.
I mean, I don't think that's gonna be happening, but I'm just. So how do we want to level the bottom 5? I think.
I am.
So the bottom 5 we have Disney Dreamlight Valley, Stray, Escape Academy, Neon White, and Endling Extinction is Forever. I didn't play Neon White. I watched Dreamlight Valley. We both played the other 3.
I think clearly the number 6 and 7 spot on this list would be the top 2 of these 5. Just
Stray.
based on what was happening there is Stray and Dreamlight Valley.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Like in that order, I mean. So it would be that right there.
Dreamlight Valley. All right. Now for Escape Academy, Neon White, and Endling Extinction is Forever. You cried during Endling. I didn't play Neon White, but I remember I was the one who had interest in it a year before you even found out about it and fell in love with it. But I still find Escape Academy to be a much more enjoyable experience, and for something that's like,
was Endling in your top 10? I already can't remember.
No.
Okay, hear me out on this. What if for our bottom 5?
Are you saying Neon White, Escape Academy, Endling?
No.
Okay. Ooh.
I was gonna say, what if we did Neon White? I'm sorry, not that. Endling, Escape Academy, Neon White.
That I think I can get behind.
Because it is, I think when it comes to fighting strongly for games that only one of us played. That
Yeah.
that kind of has to be towards like the top 5 when we're really debating our games of the year, like the real top ones. The bottom
Right.
5 for our solo games, I think it makes sense to have games we either both played / experienced towards the top.
Okay. I think I'm satisfied with these bottom 5 being Stray, Disney Dreamlight Valley, Endling Extinction is Forever, Escape Academy, and Neon White being
I
6 through
am
10.
Yeah, I'm good with this.
Yeah, I think I'm. Oh god, it's gonna be. Oh my god, it's gonna
All
be
right, here, let me I know no one else can see this, but what if we just left it like that right there?
no,
Those
no, no.
um
This sly
okay.
motherfucker trying to just throw Elden Ring up top and think it's okay. Because don't get me wrong, obviously Elden Ring was my number 2. I loved it, but that Pokemon game, Pokemon Scarlet and
Okay.
Violet, just
Here, let's
fucking took me.
how
I
about we
will say,
save
I
for this
will I
argument.
will say this. I will say this. We can leave Marvel Snap at 5.
Okay, and I was going to say we could save this is clearly going down one path. The fight's going to be Elden Ring versus Pokemon Scarlet Violet for game of the year. That's the argument here, right? It's going to be between those two.
Yes.
So, let's save those two. And
Now, I'm fine with Marvel Snap being at 5. Pokemon Legends Arceus and Immortality at 3 and 4. We both played Legends Arceus and loved it. How do you feel that Immortality overall got you compared to, because like I wouldn't call you a Pokemon fan.
I am definitely more of a casual Pokemon fan. I like Pokemon, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly hardcore into it. I could
No.
I could barely name. I would not even come close to being able to name half the Pokemon out there.
What
Not
about the
even close.
first? What about the first 150 though?
Um, just like off the top of my head,
No, I
with
mean
no.
we could set something up. It doesn't have to be off the top of your head, but I mean, most people know the original 150.
I don't know if I can name every single. I definitely could not name every single 150, the original.
Okay, I know more than half. So I this yeah.
With so I really like Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Mm-hmm.
But for these three here, if you're saying Marvel Snap number 5, and we're talking about the next two, I like the order it's in currently. I don't know if you do.
I would say I am satisfied with having Immortality third, with Legends Arceus being fourth. With that, we both played together, but your connection and love for Immortality, I can give you that.
I would open the door for you then and say, how do you feel about Legends Arceus versus Marvel Snap? Because this is
I
almost the same idea, right? Where like you have your personal connection with Marvel Snap, but we both played Arceus. So, like,
I
where does that
I
weigh for you?
I would leave Legends Arceus in the middle between them, because
Okay.
at the time it really did make that huge jump. But obviously, looking back at it now after playing Scarlet Violet, it's harder because of a different mindset. But I'm fine with leaving that for what it is, because knowing what Scarlet and Violet did to really bring the full experience to players.
Okay. So now it's the big one.
Sumo Mat.
This is if there was ever a sumo match, it's now.
It makes it difficult because I am a big fan of Elden Ring, and you haven't played Scarlet and Violet, but Scarlet and Violet just is it's so good. It's, for me personally, I've put more consecutive time into Scarlet and Violet than Elden Ring. It is I think Elden Ring is a massive jump for gaming genres for me specifically to be able to do something like that, but the comfort and evolution that is Scarlet and Violet for the Pokemon series is that it's difficult because Elden Ring is that next huge jump, regardless if they're gonna do an open world again.
I think. All right, I haven't played Pokemon Scarlet Violet, so like I'm not gonna try and put them down because I haven't played it. The most I can try and put down those games is just the technical stuff I've seen.
Yeah. To which I've already stated that that is not even an issue for
Right.
someone like me. To which, for someone like you, it might be more so, but
The visual glitches I can like laugh at. The time I start getting frustrated is when I either can't progress in a game or a game crashes. That's what I'm like, oh, okay, this is like, come on.
yeah, you see, even for me, frame rate drops were not an issue whatsoever to stop me from playing, and the game has crashed only twice in 66 some odd hours. Which, to be honest, isn't that bad for a game that's also running like dog shit.
I think uh what I can say about Elden Ring, if just to put it out there, I think Elden Ring is not only a jump forward for, open world or Souls-like games. I think it is a jump forward for gaming. I think that this will go down Elden Ring as like the modern day Ocarina of Time. Like I think that is the impact this has on gaming as a whole. And I'm just going to start with this. I know the argument is, oh, but it's just Breath of the Wild, right? Like Breath of the Wild was the first one to really do this open world in this way. And yes, I'm not trying to take anything away from Breath of the Wild, but I think Elden Ring perfected it. This is I can't name a single other game where I can walk 10 feet in any direction and see wildly different things. And I've brought this up multiple times throughout the year, but the fact that there are so many completely missable, easily skippable dungeons that have completely unique enemies or gimmicks to them that you won't see anywhere else in the massive game that it is just beyond impressive. So I think when you pair that with how smart it is for what it does for open worlds, which it does build upon Breath of the Wild for that, it totally does. But also for then Souls-like games for how smart really the biggest issue, like think of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro,
It's
the
so
biggest issue.
frustrating because these two are the same game. They're the same goddamn game. They really are. You go out on your own, you explore the entire open map by yourself, coming across new things, and it's all a huge evolution for the series that it's already a part of. Why don't we just come together and say that it's a dual top number one?
Oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have we can't
Mm.
that is opening a dangerous door towards us every year. We
This
just
is
take
this
our
is
favorite
such
ones.
it's such a difficult year though. It's so, especially with these two, and it's harder because you didn't play it, and
That
it's
definitely poses a challenge, but here let me throw this question out for you. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Do you think that those games or that game, however you want to say it, changes anything in gaming outside of the Pokemon series?
I could I feel like I could say the same for Elden Ring though.
I don't. I think you look at Elden Ring, and I think this is now the standard for any game that wants to try and be an open world.
I don't think, because I think I'm going back to your argument where Breath of the Wild, because that's what that is. The thing that
So
really brought itself is the fact that you can explore at your own pace. You're coming across new things, and the only thing that Elden Ring does is bring its formula into that.
I think it does more though, because Breath of the Wild, like, yes, I cannot take that away from Breath of the Wild and try to apply it to Elden Ring. It did it first. Without Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring doesn't exist, right? Like, it just doesn't. I
Well,
think
all right.
I
The argument can be kind of made.
sure, I don't think the open world is done in the way that it's done in Elden Ring without Breath of the Wild happening. But
Okay.
Breath of the Wild was mostly empty.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Elden Ring, you can literally pick any direction, and within a minute or two, you are seeing something that you will not see anywhere else in the game.
But is that also like, can that be argued against as saying the same thing for Pokemon of coming across a new like area, a new patch, and there's like certain Pokemon that you won't see anywhere else in the game, and it makes it hard because it feels like it's just ending up in the argument of like, what do we find more exciting, Souls games or catchathons in this way? Like that's the most.
Okay, here's my argument against that though, is that when it comes to Pokemon, you know that you are just going to find different Pokemon. And I understand that you could spin that on Elden Ring. It's like, you're just going to find another boss. But
Mhm.
I think the difference is in the level of variation. Whereas Pokemon is going to be the same match, like, you're going to try and match up the different types to your advantage and catch the Pokemon. Whereas the battles will go mostly the same, where I feel like in Elden Ring, one fight compared to another can be insanely different.
But that's, at the end of the day, that's that genre's thing. Pokemon's thing is running across different things and catching them. Soulsborne games are coming across different bosses and learning the new shtick to kill them.
Yes, and I think that it is way more impressive to have completely wildly different enemies and bosses as opposed to having kind of the same thing with different Pokemon.
It makes it so hard because it's the same fucking thing with two different
It's,
genres,
I,
two different IPs. It's the same thing
I
though.
will say this: if Pokemon did Elden Ring, but with Pokemon, as in you're still going into dungeons and they are just wildly different from each other, I would say Pokemon wins. If it was
But then
if
I
you
think of
took
the Dark Souls games, and it's like, wouldn't you think the same thing like Bloodborne? You're coming across completely different shit as you go through. Like, you're not supposed to see the same thing over and over again, and like that's just what these games do. It's an evolution of that skill.
I don't agree with that though, because Elden Ring does it in, well, first off, just having the open world in general lets you see, like, think of the underground compared to any sort of castle you may come across. Compare that to the swamp area. They are like wildly different. And while a game like Bloodborne does have
Are you talking about the underground from Diamond and Pearl?
no, no, sorry, I'm talking
Okay,
about the underground in Elden Ring, like the
okay, okay.
where there's like minotaurs or whatever they are, and spirit things, and like that
Ah,
is almost a completely different world in Elden Ring.
is that enough to argue against the different biomes in Pokemon and finding different Pokemon there? Like, yeah, you would find this here, you would find that there. They all fit in their respective places.
Okay, so I think the main difference is with Pokemon, you know exactly what to expect. With Elden Ring, everywhere you go is a whole new surprise because you don't know where it's going to go. When you go to the snowy biome in Pokemon, you know you're going to find ice types there. You can have a general idea of what you're going to find there. When you go into Elden Ring, when I'm climbing a mountain, I'm not expecting, my first thought would be, oh, I don't know, rock things. Instead, it's giant mechanical machines all over the place.
But isn't the whole thing about these Soulsborne games is to throw you stuff that you wouldn't expect, just random creature designs and just shit that's just weird and wacky?
So it has definitely slowly progressed there.
So wouldn't it
Like
at a
it
point become expected and just be like, yeah, this is just the rest of it? Because it's like, while I can run through Elden Ring and have fun with all these cool things in the underground and the above ground, I'm still coming across random cool bosses. That's the thing. I'm coming across random cool bosses.
So I think the difference, and maybe I'm not communicating it too well, but Bloodborne is a good example. Everything I find in Bloodborne just fits in that gothic setting, right? Like, yes, there will be things I'm not expecting, but I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. When I'm going across like a medieval fantasy world, I am seeing things that I would not have guessed I would be seeing in that world.
Yeah, but George R. R. Martin gets his grabby little hands on things. Just like, what if we did
I
this?
think, yeah, and I think that that's an argument for the game. I'm not trying to take away from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet,
I
but I think
know.
if we are looking at the more impressive thing, it's got to be Elden Ring. I would go as far, if we really want to give Pokemon its true shine, I would go as far as to say put Arceus in the number 3 spot, so our top 3 has 2 Pokemon games. But I think it has to be Elden Ring for Game of the Year. I think Elden Ring is one of the best games to be ever to be made, period. Not just this year.
There's two, oh, I get hiccups. There's two. I got hiccups a second time, actually. There's just too. God damn it.
This argument is embarrassing right now.
That's because one of us is a lot. One of us is a lot more drunk than the other one.
Hey, I wanted to be mostly sober for this argument.
I thought this would be entertaining.
It is definitely entertaining because your argument for Pokemon is hiccups.
This is true. I feel like as a Pokemon fan,
okay, this is basically my main argument. What Pokemon Scarlet and Violet do is massive for Pokemon games. I think what Elden Ring does is massive for video games as a whole. Because I think it's not just...
What does it do that Breath of the Wild doesn't do? That is just
it makes
more...
the world not empty. In Breath of the Wild...
But you could just you could just make that and not do that. Like, it's just...
Okay, it makes the world not empty, but completely varied. In Breath of the Wild,
but I feel like that's the same argument for these games in general. The Elden Ring, the Soulsborne games are varied. That's just son of a bitch. That's just what they do. They just throw things at you, son of a bitch, that you don't expect.
That is where I am. That's what I was trying to say about the Bloodborne versus Elden Ring argument earlier. Is that Bloodborne, like, yes, it would surprise me. Like, I could not guess what was coming, but every time I saw it was like, sure, this makes sense in like this gothic world. Whereas in Elden Ring, I am not only not guessing it, I am extremely intrigued by what I'm seeing in things that are just all over the place. And it is that variation that I legitimately believe you can go in any direction in Elden Ring and you will just start seeing shit that you don't see anywhere else in the game.
But there is a lot of copy and paste. The dragons, there's a lot of copy and paste enemies. There's like, all right, here's, for example, Leonine Misbegotten. One of those fucking... son of a bitch. One of those enemies
there eventually
that comes across much more often. I feel like there's a lot of enemies that are duplicated and just kind of meant for their environment, but there's still a lot. There's a bunch of Leonines. There's a bunch of... what the fuck are those? Son of a bitch. What were those things called? The fucking Godskins? The Godskins?
Sure.
You come across some of those a lot. Son of a bitch.
I could spin that though. Like, yes, there are variations or the same enemies in multiple parts of the world of Elden Ring, but I also think that you will find completely unique things in every spot. Whereas in Pokemon, how many Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have been in multiple previous Pokemon games?
But how many are new? There's like 100 new ones. And there's the paradox forms, the new paradox between the two versions, Scarlet and Violet. There's the futuristic and the ancient forms, and you have to... these hiccups are just absolutely fuck. This is like blood. This is like scarlet rot right now. These hiccups are fucking
oh god,
me
no.
up. It's like scarlet rot, dude. like you come across there's like 100 some new Pokemon, new evolutions. These hiccups are going to be the entertainment of the rest of this episode.
This is it.
Then the paradox forms, which between the two games you have to trade for. I don't know if that's a way of helping Scarlet and
No,
Violet
I
out,
was actually about to say I don't think you're helping the Pokemon argument at all. I don't got
but
to trade for shit.
you get something new out of it. I mean, you don't necessarily have to trade to get everything that you need and want. Son of a bitch. I
Elden
think
Ring has a
I think
massive world.
compared to the two series, I think the one that has made the largest jump from like mainline series, if you were to say from like Sekiro to Elden Ring, coming from Gen 8 of Pokemon to Gen 9, I feel like you're getting a much bigger jump. I think
Okay,
in Elden Ring's compassion between those two, you're getting a much more spread out jump, but like mechanic wise and what the games are, you're getting a bigger jump from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet from Sword and Shield.
I think that argument can be made for the jump from
That's
Sword and
because
Shield
these
to
are the
Arceus.
same games.
No, I think
Elden Ring and Pokemon
Arceus makes
Scarlet and
that
Violet
jump.
are the same game. Okay, but even so, okay, so well, Arceus will make some sort of jump, but Scarlet and Violet will take the core of what these other games are and expand upon. Because Arceus only really bought. Son of a bitch. I'm not giving myself the time to get rid of the hiccups because this is so important. So I think that what Arceus brings of that stealth mechanic and more of those open biomes are similar to if you were to take 4 wild areas from Sword and Shield and bring them to Scarlet. Maybe make them a little bigger and more diverse, but Scarlet oh my god, I'm too drunk for this. It makes the jump to Arceus, but Scarlet and Violet have that full open world, has everything that the core Pokemon games have had, the Elite Four, the Pokemon gyms, on top of an own storyline for the evil Team Star, instead of like just thrown in there. There's so many hiccups. And then adding in the Titans from Arceus and fleshing it out more so for the mainline series, similar to what Elden Ring does, but I feel like overall between something like Sekiro to Elden Ring from Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet is a bigger jump.
I think no, I don't think jumping from Sword and Shield to Violet. I think you have to, if you're doing that discussion, then it has to be Sword and Shield to Violet is Dark Souls 3 to Elden Ring. Because really it's Sword and Shield to Arceus.
I mean, you could make the same argument
and then
because
it builds upon Arceus.
Sekiro is different enough from Dark Souls 3. I mean, are you saying that from Dark Souls 3 or are you saying that from like Bloodborne? Did Dark Souls 3 come out after?
Dark Souls 3 came out after Bloodborne.
Okay.
I was really making the comparison of like a medieval fantasy jump, because Bloodborne and Sekiro definitely have their own distinct styles and things going for them.
Yeah.
Whereas Elden Ring it feels more of a build upon from Dark Souls than anything. And I'm saying that if you're skipping over Arceus in that jump, then you have to compare Dark Souls to Elden Ring instead of Sekiro.
That just goes back to my argument that they're the same game.
If you want to go with the argument that they're the same game, then I would say that Elden Ring is a finished game that runs properly, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet do not run properly.
If you're bringing in that tiny little seesaw, if what really makes the overall difference, then like, yeah, they're the same game, but Elden Ring does run properly at release and etc. Son of a bitch, I dropped something. I honestly think that we should have 2 first place winners.
No, because then we're just gonna do that every year. We
No,
can't
we
open
won't.
that door. Yes, we will.
Next year, I'm gonna be fucking slamming this year for not having it in the first place.
What about that right there? Pokemon, 2 out of the top 3 games
That
of
doesn't
2022 are Pokemon.
that doesn't necessarily make me feel any better. Like
I
it,
think I really think that what it comes down to is Pokemon and Scarlet do a lot for Pokemon, whereas Elden Ring I think is a game that any genre can look at and learn from. And and I think it's I love Arceus. I think the existence of Arceus hurts Scarlet and Violet in this argument.
disagree. Highly disagree because when it comes to the Pokemon games, you have so much distribution between even genres. Cuz like when you look at the mainline series, you look at the mainline Pokemon games Gen 1 through 9 as their own thing. Then you look at the remakes as their own thing. Then you look at some like Legends as their own thing. Ranger, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, it's son of a bitch, etc.
So I get what you're saying, but I think one of the big things for Scarlet and Violet, like you're saying, is like that's the Pokemon game that people have always dreamed of, right?
Is this
Whereas
not the Dark Souls game that everyone has always dreamed of?
that's that wasn't the point I was making. The
All
point I
right,
was
I
making
should let you finish.
is as again someone who hasn't played Scarlet and Violet, which I think does not help this, but also
I will
someone who's
say
a
if you
casual Pokemon
did
fan.
play Scarlet and Violet, I think you personally would still vote for Elden Ring as your number 1.
Okay, because I was also saying like yes, I am more of a casual Pokemon fan, but I think if we listen back to us talking about Arceus when we first played it, we got that full 3D experience, that one that we were hoping for from Pokemon Arceus. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the Scarlet and Violet don't do it better or do a better job as a Pokemon game as a whole. But that's what I meant when I said the existence of Arceus maybe hurts Scarlet and Violet. Is at least I felt as a casual Pokemon fan, I got that feeling from Arceus.
It
It
it does
happened.
it does make it difficult because Arceus does make such a huge jump overall if you consider it honestly as a mainland game, to which it's hard because it's a spin-off but also continue blah 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 blah. But it's I lost my train of thought.
Well, I also that's kind of what I was trying to say before. Like, I don't think spin-off is something to point at because that's why I think okay, well then compare Elden Ring to Dark Souls and look at that jump. Because Sekiro and Bloodborne are also kind of spin-offs of like their own thing.
But that's when the argument goes back to it feels so similar because of the if you're saying the jump from Dark Souls 3 to Elden Ring and Pokemon Gen 8 to Gen 9, it feels so similar of a jump. And I don't think that Elden Ring will be necessarily the number 1 to enhance gaming just because it filled in the areas that Breath of the Wild didn't.
Yeah, and I think that again, like that is I can't take that away from Breath of the Wild and apply it to Elden Ring. Breath of the Wild did it first. It did. But I think Elden Ring perfected that formula as now the game to look at. Like this is going to branch out to other genres or completely other series that they won't look at the Breath of the Wild anymore. They will look at Elden Ring. Whereas Pokemon, that's only going to happen within Pokemon. This is not going to affect gaming as a whole. It is only going to affect Pokemon.
I have so many hiccups, and it's not helping my train of thought. But
I got you right where I want you. I used my hiccup spell on you.
I really do not know if there's anything else I could say about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that could son of a bitch that could really make it stand over Elden Ring for you. And to be honest, with it being my second place game of the year winner, I feel like I can take a loss and keep Scarlet and Violet at second overall.
I will also. I know it's not necessarily doing anything for you, but I will put
I know.
Arceus at number 3 because I
I mean,
think
as a game
to
that we
look.
both play together, and at least as enough of a Pokemon fan to notice the level of improvement between games.
I think it's fair. Also, like this is a year that we will look back on and say Pokemon not only had 2 games in our top 10, Pokemon had 2 games in the top 3.
Pokemon had 2 games released in the same year in general. Like, that's
Yes,
nuts
which is
enough.
that. Yes, that is also nuts enough. All right, is this it then? Are we calling it? We're gonna read this off.
Oh, I got a little spit dribbling. I think I'm satisfied. I think I can live with this list.
I am happy with this list.
After over 3.5 hours. Oh man. Remember what I said initially? I think we could do this in 2.
No. All right. Number 10 is Neon White.
Number 9 is Escape Academy.
Number 8 is Endling Extinction is Forever.
Number 7 is Disney Dreamlight Valley.
Number 6 is Stray.
Number 5 is Marvel Snap.
Number 4 is Immortality, which I surprisingly did not have to spoil.
Yeah, number 3 is Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Number 2 is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
And rounding it out as the official Offshore Gamescast game of the year 2022. Elden Ring. It's Elden Ring. I feel like if you asked us when Elden Ring came out, what would be game of the year, and we said Elden Ring, we'd be like, yeah. But it feels almost too guaranteed to be a game of the year game, and that's like the annoying thing about it.
So when I wrote for the top 10 for the website for my personal one, I started my thing with Elden Ring, something like, yes, I know, surprise, surprise. This is another pick for Elden Ring as game of the year.
Yes.
But I think it's well earned. Let's keep rolling up the rest of these categories as a nice recap. So best game mechanic goes to Pokemon Legends Arceus for its stealth mechanic, with the runners up number 2, Elden Ring with Torrent, and Immortality with the match cut mechanic.
Best indie won with Immortality. Coming in close second was Stray, and third was Escape Academy.
Best console exclusive, the winner goes to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on the Switch, followed by Pokemon Legends Arceus on the Switch, and Stray on PlayStation.
And coming to best visuals, the winner was Stray, with God of War Ragnarok in second and Trek to Yomi in third.
Best narrative, the winner goes to Immortality, with second place Endling Extinction is Forever, and third place God of War Ragnarok.
Most disappointing being Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, followed by Horizon Forbidden West, and finally Dying Light 2.
And we will end it with the category we started with. Most surprising, the winner goes to Marvel Snap, followed by Immortality, and number 3, Escape Academy. We did it.
Not surprising at all. A lot of similar games in each category.
Yeah, it kind of felt like there was like those top games, and that was kind of than a lot of middle ground from this year.
Yeah, I get that.
This was fun. I like
I
this.
I love Game of the Year. It's always
Yeah.
exciting getting up to it.
This is it for season 3. We
Yeah,
won't be back until the 20th.
I won't nearly be this drunk next time.
You can't guarantee that.
No, I feel like yeah, I can't guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure.
Let's hope so.
I think
Unless
this
you
was
want a full episode of hiccups.
please no. I'm suffering right now. I don't want to continue. You know, once you get hiccups, the likeliness of you getting hiccups more in that day is so much more. Like you get up to
Oh,
5
yeah, the rest
times
of
a
your
day.
night is done.
This is the second time tonight I got hiccups, and I am
Oh,
not a
yeah, you're
fan.
done.
My diaphragm die. Just get the fuck out of here, dude.
All right. Let's call this. Thank you for joining us for season 3. Thank you for joining us in the first video podcast episode we've done, which is now going to be a regular thing moving forward. Hope you enjoyed it. Congratulations to all the winners. Be sure to go to offshoregamescast.com. Check out all of the guest posts from other content creators. We have YouTubers, streamers, other podcasters, a lot of names you may recognize. It's a fun collaboration. It's much bigger than last year, which it's a lot of fun. Making new friends along the way.
I think that's awesome. I love the expansion of the people who get to show off their opinions on the website and
Yeah.
just it growing. I think how exciting to be a hub for all these people in their opinions.
Yeah, that's the cool part. And I've seen a lot of these lists come in, and I strongly recommend you check them out because we are both very avid gamers, and there were games on there that I have never heard of that are on multiple people's lists. And I'm just like, well, where the hell have I been not seeing these games? So I'm
Right.
sure that there were games on this list that you've never heard of and games on all these other lists that you have not seen before. And maybe you'll get sold on checking them out.
Let's hope so. And if you have any interest, please try some Dubby. Head to WGG.
Let's end this with a Dubby shout out.
Use offshore code offshore shit to get 10% off your entire order, and maybe you can taste some bubblegum too.
Goodbye, everyone.
It's good to talk